What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty. Join my Discord if you want to chat and share your thoughts, the link is in the description. 14 PR Chapter 556 Two sudden sap. Seeing the big hand that Itachi kept approaching, Sasuke looked desperate. That's why. He subconsciously wanted to retreat, but things backfired because there was a broken wall behind him. He is now irresistible. At this moment, Sasuke knew that he couldn't resist, his eyes were going to be gouged, and he was going to die. However, Itachi's next move left him astonished, not for others. It's just because Itachi's fingers did not reach out to gouge his eyes, but directly touched his forehead. This movement is extremely familiar, which Itachi used to do to Sasuke when he was young, and it was the emotional bond between the two of them. Immediately afterwards, a smile appeared on the corner of Itachi's mouth. Since his life has almost come to an end, he has no strength to support any of his actions. 26. As a result, his bloodied fingers were drawn from Sasuke's forehead. At the same time, the corners of his lips moved slightly, and his voice was inaudible, making it impossible to hear what he was saying. In the next second, Itachi's body slowly fell in Sasuke's astonishment. Boom! Before Sasuke had come back to his senses, White Zetsu peeked from a distance with an incredible expression. Itachi fell down. Advertisement. But at the moment Itachi fell, Sasuke felt like he was left behind, but he seemed to understand something. But in the next second, his heart denied it. In his opinion, Itachi's life should have come to an end, and he has no strength to gouge his eyes, so even the position is crooked. At this moment, he can only give himself this explanation. In other words, this is a more reasonable explanation. After thinking of this, Sasuke simply stopped thinking about it, and a grinning smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and then finally couldn't resist the fatigue from the mind and body, and passed out completely. After seeing the end of the war, Ju was going to notify Obito and recover the body of Itachi. However, at this moment, a hole suddenly opened in the space behind him. Then before he could react, a stick was stretched out of it and sold, and he hit his forehead twice unsuspectingly. Ju. Only. The strength of these two saps is really too great, directly knocking White Zetsu and Black Zetsu to a stick to faint. Hey hey. With the sound of hey laughter, a figure slowly walked out of it. This is a young figure. He is no one else. It was Toki who saved Jiraiya in Cloud Shinobi Village not long ago. After leaving Rain Shinobi Village, he made a trip to Konoha. Immediately afterwards, he went to the hostel in Rain Shinobi Village and had a face-to-face meeting with the sweet phosphorus that had survived the night, and then he appeared here. Advertisement. In fact, it has been a while since arriving on this battlefield, and the reason why he only appeared now is entirely because he did not want to interfere with this battle. Now that the battle is over, he will naturally show up. Certainly, he also harassed Obito before, which is why he has not appeared in the fight at the moment. Looking at White Zetsu and Black Zetsu lying on the ground, Shiyu had no plans to kill. Because the follow-up system may appear about their tasks. If these two people are now annihilated, who will do the thing that triggered Moon Eye? Therefore, Shiyu was too lazy to do 763. Otherwise, the system may let him do this, which is not something he wants to see. Without any unnecessary nonsense, Toki went directly to where Itachi and Sasuke were. Came to the comatose two people back and forth. Shiyu first looked at Sasuke and found that the latter was not too problematic, so he looked away. The purpose of his trip is not Sasuke, but Itachi. The latter is his mission goal. As for Sasuke, he intends to leave it to Obito who will come later, and telling Sasuke the truth through his mouth is undoubtedly the best choice. This is the end of my thought. Shiyu directly advanced Itachi, then cast Flying Thunder God and disappeared in place. Chapter 557 Black Hands in the Dark? No bones left? Uchiha Base. Soon after Shiyu left, the space twisted again. Next second, a figure stepped out. This was a middle-aged man. Moreover, he wears an orange mask. This person is naturally not Shiyu, but Obito. When he appeared on this battlefield, the battle here had already ended. At first glance, it was a mess. Originally, he hadn't noticed anything wrong, but when he saw the half-length body and fainted Ju, his brows frowned slightly. Not only that, he only saw Sasuke in the battlefield. And beside the latter, there was a blazing flame, which was a cluster of black flames. There seemed to be a body in the black flames, which was slowly being burned. Seeing this scene, Obito couldn't help but mutter. Open black lens bracket Amaterasu close black lens bracket. Itachi, have you lost? Apart from Sasuke, there is only the corpse that is about to burn to ashes, and Obito undoubtedly believes that the latter is Itachi. He had a brief encounter with Sasuke, knowing that Sasuke had activated Mangekyo, and also awakened Amaterasu, this pupil technique. In his opinion, this should be Sasuke's method. Immediately afterwards, he awakened the fainted Ju, and wanted to learn something from the latter. Advertisement. The black-white Zetsu who woke up scratched his head and murmured one after another. Why do I feel a little pain in my head? Me too. When he saw Obito on the side, White Zetsu couldn't help asking. The battle is over, why did you come? Something was delayed on the way. Obito replied, and then said, the battle should be terrible just now, you all fainted so far away. This is the best explanation Obito can think of. It is obviously impossible for him to guess at once that someone had sap on his back. Although the latter's combat power is not strong, but its perception is quite keen. Not only Obito thinks so, but also Black and White Zetsu think so. Is it affected by the war? White Zetsu murmured, and then said, how'd I feel that someone knocked on the back of the forehead? I feel the same way. Black Zetsu echoed, oh, is there such a thing? Hearing Obito's questioning, White Zetsu Kaido, it's definitely not easy to be able to follow us silently and stun us both. White Zetsu said so, while Black Zetsu was playing drums in his heart. He didn't know who was staring at him. What was the purpose of this person? Why did he knock them out? After a brief thought, Obito murmured softly, does it have something to do with the changes I met on the road? Advertisement, why, you were attacked, White Zetsu said. It can only be said that someone prevented me from being here for the first time. Obito responded, and then said, now think about it, there is definitely a connection between the two. The whispering Obito town touched the pile of ash on the ground, and a trace of regret flashed in his eyes. Wang Jiaohao, what I am curious about right now, what is the purpose of the person who prevented me from coming here and knocked you out? It seems that after we passed out, what happened here? Itachi was burned into nothingness by open black lens bracket Amaterasu close black lens bracket. I didn't expect that this battle would end in Sasuke's victory, Black Zetsu also groaned. Because he thinks he has a way to persuade Sasuke to change. If Sasuke is transplanted with Itachi's eyes, then the former will have Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, which is definitely a very strong combat power for them. Who on earth actually got us, and what is his purpose? After the three had a brief conversation, they walked towards the messy battlefield. Obviously, this result was beyond the expectations of the two. Upon seeing this, White Zetsu's brow wrinkled in explanation. When the voice fell, Obito shook his head and then said, I will investigate this matter. Let's talk about this battle. I do not know either. And beside him, a group of black inflammation burned the last corner of the clothes to the point of, so far, the black inflammation had completely disappeared. Oh, since Itachi was dead, he naturally wanted to win over Sasuke. When they approached here, only Sasuke was left here. However, it is not Itachi that he regrets, but his eyes. Chapter 558 unlocked the 6th reward. At this moment, whether it was Obito or Ju, they thought it was burned to ashes. But they never thought that all of this was Shiyu's masterpiece, a means to confuse them. Obviously, Shiyu didn't want them to know the fact that Itachi was rescued by him. It was also because of Shiyu's misleading, that they couldn't guess his purpose at all? Secretly obstructed, behind the black stick, is it just Shiyu's momentary boredom? They don't know, for a while, they didn't understand it, they also temporarily left it behind, and then turned their attention to Sasuke. Immediately afterwards, they picked up Sasuke and disappeared into this battlefield. At the same time, on the other 763 square, Yu injected an incomparable pure energy into the body of Itachi, who was in a coma with only a trace of life. If Shikamaru, Ino and others saw it, they would definitely be able to recognize what kind of shocking force it was. This energy is full of endless vitality, and it seems to live and die. There is no doubt that this is the power of immortality that has evolved to the extreme. Shiyu once presented Shikamaru and Ino with a spell scroll each, and they used it to save Sarutobi Asuma. As the energy containing the majestic vitality was injected into the body of Itachi, the dying time of Itachi appeared red. Advertisement next second. Itachi was completely restored to life, and the eyes that had been closed for a long time opened slowly. Is this hell? This is the first sentence when Itachi wakes up. Obviously, in his opinion, he is dead. But in the next second, his pupils suddenly shrank. Because there was a familiar figure in his field of vision, a figure of a young man that he did not expect. At this moment, he felt that he was not dead, but was saved by the boy in front of him. But the occurrence of this idea made Itachi, who had always been calm, also terrified. No one knows his own situation better than him. Even if there is no life and death battle with Sasuke, it will not be long before he will die of a serious illness. This is what surprised him the most, because he found that the serious illness on his body had disappeared. If no accident, all this must be related to the young man in front of him. Can this stop him from being shocked? Such as, CGDD, this shocking method turned out to come from a 16-year-old boy. This young man is no one else, naturally Shiyu. Seeing Itachi wakes up, Shiyu spit out 2 words faintly. Woke up. As his voice fell, a familiar voice rang in his mind. Advertisement even if it is better than Sage of 6 Paths or Otsutsuki Kagaya. Originally, he was already at the top of this world. Now that he has opened this 6th reward, he is completely invincible under the sky. Because the Itachi in front of him was staring at him intently. Obviously, he was waiting for Shiyu to solve his confusion. Shiyu smiled lightly and spoke slowly. Congratulations, the host talent has been increased 10 million times. Congratulations to host for acquiring the power of 6 tails. How is it? Are you satisfied with the surprise I said at the beginning? Ding, congratulations to host for completing the mission to rescue Uchiha Itachi. After hearing such a prompt from the system, Shiyu's eyes also flashed with excitement. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. In today's world, almost no one will be his opponent. Ding, congratulations to host for successfully unlocking the 6th reward, after completing all the tasks in the 6th stage. Of course, Shiyu is even more excited at this moment, what kind of awesome rewards he can draw this time. Congratulations to host for winning 6 lucky draw opportunities. It can be said, outside of some of his specific abilities, the basic things have not attracted him much anymore. However, at this time, Shi-Yu temporarily suppressed this complex behind his head. Chapter 559 Itachi and Shisui, Dirty Soil and Reincarnation. How is it? Are you satisfied with the surprise I said at the beginning? Hearing Shi-Yu's words, although Itachi looked calm, but there was a lot of turbulence in his heart. Obviously, he knew what Shi-Yu was referring to. Mangekyo Sharingan, he doesn't know how Sasuke awakened. Originally he wanted to use his own death to awaken Sasuke, but things had already gone beyond his expectations. Seeing Itachi stared at him with puzzled eyes, Shi-Yu continued to say, as if he could see Itachi's mind. Since I have awakened, Mangekyo, I naturally know how to do it. My master is a bloody illusion that can communicate with reality. A short sentence caused Itachi's eyes to stagnate. Obviously, this answer surprised him. The so-called blood succession illusion art is an illusion technique performed by using blood succession limit. There is no doubt that this kind of illusion is a super existence. For example, Sharingan's illusion, especially Tsukuyomi, and distinguished heavenly gods, displayed by Mangekyo, and so on. Itachi himself master has opened black lens bracket Tsukuyomi close black lens bracket this super illusion, and he naturally knows the horror of this blood succession illusion. Therefore, he didn't feel much astonished when he heard that there was an illusion to communicate with reality. After calming down his emotions, Itachi finally spoke again. Why are you saving me? Advertisement, you just assumed that I am for Sasuke. Shi-Yu responded and said, after all, he will be quite regretful when he knows the truth. Shi-Yu's words are true, and he did it partly for Sasuke. Of course, this is just smoothly done. The most important thing is obviously because of the tasks issued by the system, this kind of task without any difficulty, he naturally wants to complete it. Otherwise, once you give up, the task will be refreshed. In this way, more complicated and difficult tasks may appear, which is not what he wants to see. But after hearing Shi-Yu's words, Itachi's face finally showed a look of surprise. Nothing else, just because of the so-called truth that Shi-Yu just said. You seem to know a lot. Don't test me, you know almost everything you need to know. Shi-Yu responded and said, this is far from Konoha and Rain Shinobi village, so you can cultivate here. Oh, right. Now that you are dead to the outside world, pay attention if you are going out. Is it meaningful to live now? You shouldn't save me? The Itachi in the words was full of deep eyes, slightly apathetic. He had planned everything in the first place, and his death was to achieve Sasuke. Even if he was misunderstood for a lifetime, he didn't want Sasuke to lose his sight because of the excessive use of Mangekyo Sharingan. Advertisement, how could it be meaningless? Do you want Sasuke who learned the truth to be alone from now on, so that he can spend his entire life in pain? Of course, you can also directly cast Round Revolving Heaven. Although Shisui's corpse is nowhere to be found now, as long as part of his flesh and blood is found, it can be retrieved open black lens bracket Impure World Reincarnation close black lens bracket. For flowers, however, even if there is him, he will not use it. But now Shiyu can't use Round Revolving Heaven, because he does not have Rinnegan yet. Obviously, he has no extravagant hopes for this world. One of the tasks in the 7th stage of the system is to resurrect Shisui. Big. Seeing the posture of Itachi, Shiyu's next sentence made his eyes twinkling and a little excited. After all, Shisui still left 2 eyes. He doesn't make jokes about his own life, and his method is to wait for a pair of Rinnegan, and he can let others perform it on his behalf, such as catching a white Zetsu as a victim. And don't you want to see Shisui again? Therefore, Itachi is undoubtedly the best choice. However, even if he has Rinnegan, it is impossible for him to dig out his Rinnegan to transplant to carry out this plan. Chapter 560 The Book of Sealing, 3 Eye Techniques. Shisui. There was a whisper in his mouth, and Itachi's voice was a little choked. Obviously, he is very longing for this man, because the latter is not only his brother, but also his guide. Right. Seeing Shiyu nodded, Itachi immediately became energetic. Can you save him? Although Itachi was very excited, but he did not lose the ability to think. Obviously, he didn't believe Shiyu's words. Shiyu was able to pull him back from the edge of death because he still had a good breath. But Shisui. The latter don't know how many years they have been dead, 67, and even the bones are not found. Therefore, Shiyu's so-called resurrection seems to him to be a fantasy. This attitude of Itachi was completely in Shiyu's expectation, and he directly stated his own method. Although I can bring it into this world now, it's not really coming back alive. Not really alive? Itachi frowned during the words, as if thinking of something. Presumably you should have guessed it, my first method is Impure World Reincarnation, that Orochimaru has been studying. After getting the confirmation, Itachi was even more shocked. He knew that this forbidden technique originated in open black lens bracket second Hokage close black lens bracket, and now only Orochimaru is studying in this era. Moreover, the latter's research is not thorough and still has flaws. But what he didn't expect was that Shiyu, a 16-year-old boy, had such an ability. Advertisement his forbearance age is only 3 years. Originally, he couldn't see through Shiyu, but now it seems that he still underestimated the boy in front of him. As if the latter knows everything and knows everything. At this moment, the expression in his eyes when he looked at Shiyu completely changed. In his eyes, Shiyu was no longer a young man, as if he was an old monster who had not known how long he had lived. Perceiving the different color in Itachi's eyes, Shiyu smiled lightly. Don't look at me with that look, I just happen to know some secrets. As for the secret technique of impure world reincarnation, it was what I saw on the Book of Seals. I don't think it is difficult. To be precise, all the ninjutsu on the Book of Seal is like this in my eyes. Maybe I am a born ninja. Shi Yu was serious nonsense, not even a trace of blushing, as if he was stating an exact fact. However, Shi Yu's words seemed like a thunder, which caused a lot of waves in the heart of Itachi, who had always been calm. As Konoha's former genius, he naturally knew what Seal Book was. The ninjutsu in there was the forbidden technique that was sealed by a generation, and the two forbidden techniques represented the difficulty can be imagined. But in Shi Yu's eyes, it seemed like a pediatrician. If he hadn't seen Shi Yu's strength, he would definitely think this was Shi Yu's nonsense. But now he has a reason to believe, because he had fought Shi Yu himself, the latter's ninjutsu skills were far superior to him. Even the fire style that the Uchiha clan is best at is the same. At this moment, he suddenly realized a problem. That is, Sasori, Kakuzu, Hidan, etc. are estimated to have died at the hands of this young man. Otherwise, with their abilities, how could Konoha be able to dry them unscathed? Advertisement. After calming down for a while, Itachi spoke again. If you use this method to resurrect Shisui, don't say you will resist after his return, even I would not agree. This is just one of the methods, I didn't say to use it. Hearing the words, Itachi's eyes glistened and he hurriedly asked. Is there any other way? Nature. Shi Yu nodded, and then said, from your experience, I must have heard of the three major pupil techniques that exist in this world. Well, does this have anything to do with the method of resurrection? Itachi itself possesses one of the big pupil skills, and he naturally understands it. Moreover, he has seen these three major pupil techniques. To be precise, it is directly related to one of them. Hearing Shi Yu's words, Itachi immediately fell into thinking. Next second. In his heart 3.3 immediately there was a guess, that is, Rinnegan. In his cognition, neither Byakugan nor Sharingan have this ability. Otherwise, Konoha would be invincible long ago, because even if it was an extremely heavy price, Konoha's ancestors would resurrect the so-called ninja god Senju Hashirama. With him in charge, Konoha will never decline, no one will ever dare to invade. But the problem is that although he has seen this open black lens bracket Rinnegan close black lens bracket, he really doesn't know anything about its ability. Because he has never seen, Pain, Shot, Chapter 561 Seal the Clan, the Eye of Transplant. You should be talking about Rinnegan, right? Itachi asked. Good. Seeing Shi Yu nodded, Itachi continued. Rinnegan, although I have seen it, I really don't know its abilities. Moreover, I don't know how this kind of eye was born. What Itachi said is true, whether it is Byakugan or Sharingan, there are roots to be found. They are all inherited from blood, but he knows very little about Rinnegan. Because they have only heard of it once since ancient times, that is, Sage of Six Paths, the originator of the shinobi world, but few have actually seen it. Itachi also got a glimpse of it because of participating in the Shao organization. I once had the privilege of fighting with your leader, and I have a certain understanding of the ability of this pupil technique. 26. Later, after consulting some ancient books, I learned that this eye has a power that transcends taboos. A power that can revive the dead. When Shi Yu said this, Itachi's face suddenly showed a look of surprise. Obviously, this answer was beyond his expectation. Rinnegan, being listed as the top of the three pupil skills, he naturally knew that this eye was extraordinary, but he never expected it to be so strong. Even possessing such a shocking power can bring the dead to life. Is the dead come back to life? Itachi muttered, and then said, since it is a taboo force, it should be a great price to pay. Advertisement, indeed so. Shi Yu nodded and replied, if you have just died, the soul is still cruising and staying in the world. It only needs to consume enough chakra to cooperate with a specific technique to resurrect it. But if you die for too long and your soul is no longer in the human world, then the surgeon will have to pay the price of life. In simple words, it is to return a soul for a soul. This is a taboo technique, called round revolving heaven. After hearing Shi Yu's words, although Itachi didn't show much consternation on his face, the storm surged in his heart. Obviously, he did not expect Rinnegan to be so heaven-defying. After calming down his inner emotions, Itachi turned to ask. In today's world, I am afraid that the only person who owns Rinnegan is Pain. He has a lot of plans, how could he sacrifice himself to others? Don't worry about that, I don't mean to use his eyes. Shi Yu smiled slightly during the words, looked at Itachi before him, and continued. Rinnegan, although the conditions for awakening this pupil technique are extremely harsh, it is not completely impossible. As soon as Mo Yu said this, Itachi was shocked again. He didn't think that Tokiha Itachi would know the birth method of Rinnegan. He felt that he already looked at Shi Yu very highly, but now he seemed to be far from able to see through the boy in front of him. At this time, Shi Yu was like a mystery in his eyes. It was more mysterious than Obito, who called himself Uchiha Madara and made him even more jealous. However, advertisement Shi Yu's next sentence was spit out, which shocked Itachi beyond words. If I tell you now, the Rinnegan on Pain is not his own, do you believe it? What? At this moment, Rao was calm with Itachi and couldn't sit still anymore. Shi Yu said one piece of information, and each piece was stimulating his nerves, which gave him a better understanding of this unknown world. But the news at this moment is undoubtedly important, as if there is some earth-shattering secret hidden in it. According to my investigation, the leader of Shao is not Pain who has been in contact with you, but someone else. He has been hiding in the 767, manipulating everything. His body is filled with the blood of the Seal clan, which is of the same clan as Naruto. The Uzumaki clan. Itachi was startled. This result was a bit beyond his expectation. He didn't expect that the face of Pen was just a pair of empty puppets. Shi Yu nodded, and then said, from ancient times to the present, the Uzumaki clan has not awakened, Rinnegan, precedent. So, this kind of power is definitely not the source of this family. As for the so-called reincarnation of Sage of Six Paths, this statement is too absurd. If it is really his old man, how could he team up with this masked man to secretly plan all this? Itachi is very smart. After Shi Yu's recount, he quickly summed up an incredible message. According to what you said, that person's eyes were transplanted. Chapter 562 The Secret of Reincarnation. The Law of Awakening. According to what you said, that person's eyes were transplanted, Itachi asked. If nothing else, this is the case. After receiving Shi Yu's confirmation, Itachi asked again, since this is the case, whose Rinnegan belongs to the person behind Pain? Yu Uchiha clan. As soon as Shi Yu said this, Itachi's face suddenly showed a deep shock. Needless to say, this result was beyond his expectation. After responding to Itachi's question, Shi Yu continued, presumably you should have heard that Uchiha Madara had an appointment with first Hokage decades ago. You don't mean to tell me that this pair of Rinnegan is from Uchiha Madara, right? Now I am not sure, everything is just my guess. Shi Yu didn't tell Itachi directly and exactly, even if he secretly investigated it, he still had to be certain. Moreover, he didn't want to disclose the follow-up matters, lest the system's issued tasks would be impressed, and that would be more than worthwhile. However, I found a way to confirm this conjecture. What way? Open black lens bracket Rinnegan close black lens bracket awakening method. After Shi Yu explained the method, he continued. Open black lens bracket Mangekyo Sharingan close black lens bracket. If you use it frequently, you will lose your eyesight. You already know that. Advertisement. But have you noticed that the masked man who claims to be Uchiha Madara, Mangekyo, has been used so far? Why there is no sign of blindness? Do you know the reason for this? According to one result of my personal experiment, I want to keep Mangekyo Sharingan from going blind. There is another way besides transplanting the eyes of a close relative of the same race. Hearing Mo Yu's words, Itachi's eyes shone brightly. Obviously, this news touched him. If their ancestors can also understand this method, the secret of eternal Mangekyo Sharingan will not be sealed in the stone monument of the shrine and will not be known to all the people. After all, this method will make their clan kill each other. The reason why it is recorded is that it is a masterpiece of black Zetsu. Of course, the ancestors of the Uchiha clan also have their own selfishness, otherwise, it is impossible to keep this secret on the stone monument of the shrine. Shi Yu, is this what you call related to first Hokage? I have to say that Itachi is indeed very smart. Earlier Shi Yu mentioned the battle between Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama, and Itachi was able to connect them together. Good. Shi Yu's words made Itachi's heart agitate 1,000 layers of waves, surging up a stormy sea, which could not be calmed for a long time. He can use wood style. This is the best proof. Advertisement. And your Uchiha clan and Senju clan are most likely descendants of Sage of Six Paths. Once you awaken the power of your blood, you will get extremely strong power. This is why the two of them were able to dominate that era. Not surprisingly, the masked man who claimed to be Uchiha Madara had also transplanted first Hokage cells. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. I have also been to the shrines of your Uchiha clan. I found that only the evolution method of Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan was recorded. Some things have been erased later. At the root, the blood has been diverted. If there is no accident, then it is Rinnegan's awakening method. As long as the blood of the two is combined, you can use Mangekyo Sharingan without restrictions. I have personally verified this. Maybe this is the root of Uchiha Madara's challenge to first Hokage. Shi Yu responded and continued. This makes sense. Why hasn't Rinnegan been born since Sage of Six Paths? Yu Uchiha's blood is awakened by the powerful pupil technique, and the Senju clan is awakened by the powerful physical ability. You must know this too. This is also one of the reasons why you have always guarded against the masked man. Then what does all this have to do with Rinnegan? Shi Yu nodded, and then said, this method is indeed related to first-generation Hokage. To be precise, it should be related to their blood. After listening to Shi Yu's words, although he was extremely astonished, at the same time there was also a major doubt in his heart. If my guess is correct, the fusion of your two bloodlines into the chakra created by Ultimate is the key to awakening Rinnegan. As the power of the bloodline is infinitely thin in the inheritance, if you want to awaken Rinnegan, I am afraid that it is only possible, Zhao's, to fuse the people with the strongest awakening blood from the two races. Advertisement Chapter 563 Translate the seal, Izanagi. After listening to Shi Yu's words, Itachi seemed to understand something. Why is there eternal Mangekyo, this eye that cannot be blind? This is undoubtedly the superposition of blood. When the amount is accumulated to a certain level, qualitative change can be achieved, so that it will never die. Maybe when Uchiha Madara challenged Senju Hashirama, in addition to winning or losing, maybe there was another purpose. It is the cell of Senju Hashirama. Even though Uchiha Madara was defeated and even killed in that battle, Itachi still felt that he might have succeeded. Others don't know what Uchiha Madara Itachi uses, but Itachi, who has thoroughly understood the ability of Sharingan, knows some. Because whether it is transfer the seal or Izanagi, it's all the ability of Sharingan. Using these two abilities, Madara and Hashirama will basically succeed in his plan whether he wins or loses in the battle. Because this method Itachi has also been used. Before he fell in a battle with Sasuke, he used Transliteration Seal to seal Amaterasu in the eyes of the latter. Transliteration Seal. It will be triggered when it meets the fixed conditions of the caster. When Shiyu and Itachi were talking, the same scene was playing at another place 770 far away in the sky. As soon as Sasuke on the sickbed opened his eyes, a voice rang in his ears. I have already done treatment for you. Sasuke's gaze followed. It was a shadowed corner. At this moment, a figure was slowly approaching. Da da da. In addition to the sound of footsteps, it was accompanied by his voice. You won this battle, but you have also suffered a lot. It's best not to force yourself to sit up. We have seen one before, but as an enemy. The voice fell, and a figure was completely exposed in Sasuke's field of vision. Advertisement. It's not someone else, it's the masked man Obito. Seeing Sasuke's eye-catching eyes, Obito continued to speak. Don't look at me with this look, I am not your enemy. I brought you here to tell you something. CGDD. Seeing how Sasuke didn't pay attention to him at all, Obito seemed to have expected it a long time ago, without the slightest irritation. Sasuke didn't violently kill when he saw the latter. In addition to his current poor state and lack of this strength, the bigger reason was that Itachi's death touched him a lot. Even though he knew that Obito in front of him was the accomplice who helped Itachi kill their Uchiha clan, he was not interested for a while. Not interested at all? Obito muttered to himself and then said, will you want to hear if I say this, something about Uchiha Itachi? Yes. You seem to know about your brother, but that's just the appearance, and you don't even know the truth. Before telling you the truth, let me introduce myself. Like you, I am a survivor of the Uchiha clan. In today's world, I am one of the truths about why Uchiha Itachi betrayed the village and annihilated the clan. When the voice fell, Obito stretched out his hand and slowly took off the mask on his face. However, when Obito took off his mask and revealed his Sharingan, Sasuke's dark left eyes suddenly changed. First it became Sharingan, and then it turned directly towards Mangekyo. But this is not the point. The point is that the Mangekyo in the left eye is not the six-pointed star that Sasuke himself awakens, but the three-striped shuriken of Itachi. Undoubtedly, this is the transliteration seal set by Itachi in Sasuke's eyes. The trigger condition is Obito's Sharingan. At this moment, the corners of Sasuke's eyes have disappeared, and his eyes are directly locked on the leader. Advertisement. Seeing this scene, Obito felt something in his heart. Could it be? Although he thought of something, it was too late. All this not only happened between the electric light and Flint, but also part of the reason is that he did not prevent this at all. No accident, Obito was directly harassed by Amaterasu, Black Flame. At this moment, Obito retreated to the dark corner and disappeared. And Sasuke, after a painful wailing, muttered to himself, what the hell is that? Obviously, Sasuke did not know that his eyes were planted with the transcribing seal of Amaterasu. At this moment, Obito's voice rang again. That's the Amaterasu that Itachi asked you to use. When the voice fell, Obito appeared in front of Sasuke again. It's just that he quickly picked up the mask of the place, and Sasuke didn't let Sasuke see his real face in the blind left eye. And the reappearance of Obito also made Sasuke look startled. Obviously, he didn't expect Obito to get rid of the Amaterasu, black flames that burned everything without extinguishing it. But the thought of the latter also awakened Mangekyo. He was relieved, because he could control this power himself. But this time he was obviously wrong. Obito was safe and sound not because he was awakened, Amaterasu, or flame control. This pupil technique, he relied on Izanagi. However, Sasuke cannot be blamed for this, because he only knows the power of Obito's eye, and he also doesn't know that Obito has only one, Mangekyo. Clatter. Obito came to Sasuke again and continued to speak. It's really Itachi. Even if I died, it surprised me. I didn't expect him to be so thoughtful. Chapter 564 Izanami. The way to survive. What are you talking about? After listening to Obito's words, Sasuke finally couldn't help but ask. No way. It's about Uchiha Itachi, he really can't take it lightly. He imposed a spell on you that could kill me. The purpose is very simple, just don't want me to approach you. He used transcribing seal, designed to release Amaterasu as soon as you see me. At this point, Obito couldn't help but secretly said, if Itachi knew everything about me, he would have killed me long ago. What Obito said is true. His combat power is indeed not as good as Itachi, because he only has one, Mangekyo. Mangekyo Sharingan. There is only one pair of cooperation O is the strongest combat power. However, although he is no match for Itachi, it is basically not a problem to escape by virtue of Kamui's particularity. Even if he is accidentally hit by Itachi open black lens bracket Amaterasu close black lens bracket, he can escape the disaster by means of open black lens bracket Izanagi close black lens bracket and self-cutting. Of course, there is still a danger of falling, that is, if you accidentally hit Izanami. It might be a bit dangerous. This is Itachi's last breath, but it's useless to me. Although Obito said so, he still had to admire Itachi's methods. If he doesn't have Master Izanagi, this forbidden secret technique, it is indeed a bit hanged. It is estimated that you have to cut half of your body. This method is not a serious problem for Master Wood Style, because his half of his body was originally derived from the fusion of first-generation cells and white Zetsu cells. Advertisement, what are you trying to say? Sasuke asked again. Itachi should have done something to you before he died, and finally he injected his last pupil power into your eyes for you. What do you want to say in the end? Sasuke's expression between the words was a little excited. Without a doubt, he realized something. Because Itachi's Amaterasu was indeed not actively released by him, but passively triggered as Obito said. Coupled with the last familiar movement of Itachi, his heart was extremely touched. Don't you realize it yet? He did this, to protect you? Hearing that, Sasuke's pupils suddenly startled, muttered and shouted, to protect me? What are you talking nonsense? Seeing Sasuke so excited, Obito still said in a hurry. I'll say it again, you seem to know about your brother, but in fact you don't know anything. Hearing this, Sasuke gritted his teeth and said angrily. If you talk nonsense anymore, I will kill you. It seems that it is not easy for you to understand the truth of the matter. Obito sighed lightly and continued, however, there is no other way. After all, these words were spit out from Itachi's helper. But what I said is the truth. As for my identity, you must have known my identity from Itachi. My name is Uchiha Madara. For flowers. I know very well about Itachi, but he doesn't know much about my identity. Advertisement. After listening to Obito's words, Sasuke seemed to realize something, that might be a fact that he could not accept. You must listen to me, this is your obligation. If you hear me say that he is for the ninja world, for the Konoha shinobi village, and for your brother, the brother who bet everything, would you still refuse? This is obviously impossible for Sasuke to know. Point 0. However, Obito will not do as he wishes. This is Uchiha Itachi's way of survival in his life. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Stop trembling. Asterisk, big, because Shiyu also mentioned it to him back then. Maybe you should investigate it in depth before you and Itachi battle. No, I want you to listen to me, but at this time, after Obito said that, before Lenovo Itachi talked about all sorts of fetters before and after the final battle, he didn't dare to think about the hidden feelings that existed in it. He didn't want to think about it. I dare not think about it. This matter is not important anymore, disappear from me. And he did, even if he had questioned Itachi during the decisive battle, but the latter was obviously determined not to tell him the truth, and had planned to pave the way for him with his own death. Therefore, he refused to listen anymore. Chapter 565 Victim. The reason for the darkness. Do you know why Itachi sets Amaterasu in your eyes? Because he doesn't want me to meet you. As long as you listen to what I say, you will know the truth. Obito confided a little casually, and saw that Sasuke did not object as fiercely as before, so he spoke again. Konoha Shinobi Village knows the truth as Danzo and 3rd Hokage, as well as Konoha consultants Utatane Kaharu and Mitokado Homura. The 3rd Hokage is now dead, so Konoha now has only 3 old guys who know about it. But if you don't care about anything other than 773, the 3 of them will probably not tell this amazing fact in the future. The truth about Itachi will disappear forever in the dark, and this is the result of Itachi hopes to develop. But in addition to the 3 people who are surviving now, I know the truth as well as my former helper. But Itachi is very careful and doesn't completely believe me. He sealed Amaterasu in your eyes just to prevent me from knowing the truth. He might have thought that I would let you see my Sharingan just to talk to you. At this moment, although Sasuke's expression was complicated, his tone did not have the irritability and resentment he had before. What the hell are you guys saying? Protect me. Protection? The truth? Hearing Sasuke's self-talk, Obito further stimulated. Think about it. Recall the matter of Itachi carefully, and think of the brother who was considerate and considerate when he was a child. If it wasn't to protect you, are you sure you can live till now? Advertisement. Bang. 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 At this time, Sasuke's heart was beating extremely violently, and the scars on the rapidly undulating chest showed signs of cracking, and the white cloth wrapped on it had gradually been dyed red. All this is due to the fact that he can hardly believe. Didn't he want to kill me? Isn't he going to take my eyes? Cough cough cough. At this moment, Sasuke's breathing was a little unsmooth because of his excitement. Obito on the side saw it and slapped Sasuke on the back. Calm down and breathe slowly, do not touch me. Sasuke slapped Obito's big hand directly and then breathed heavily. Call. At this moment, there was only one figure in Sasuke's mind, and that was Itachi, the face that always smiled at him. When Sasuke regained his senses from the confusion, he found that he could not move. At the same time, Obito rang slowly, sorry, I tied you up. Because I don't think you can honestly listen to me to finish. Hearing that Sasuke didn't answer immediately, he had calmed down a bit and calmed down. After a while, he finally spoke, that house is my enemy. Advertisement. The voice is very faint. If it weren't for the mood and atmosphere in the field at this time, one could definitely hear the tone in that tone. Tsunere. In the next second, his tone became sharp again. Sacrifice? Sasuke murmured softly. These things are the tasks assigned to him by Konoha Shinobi, and they are also the source of the guilt. He is a defector ninja, and a member of Shao. He is an enemy I must hate and a target I must kill in this life. That's a task. You did kill the Uchiha clan that night and left Konoha, Obito interjected. It seems you were a little calmer. Yes, although it is a bit long to say, but what I want to say next is the main point, which is related to the reason why Itachi went into the dark. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Rong raised his head with an incredible expression, staring straight at Obito in front of him, wanting to verify further. In short, Itachi became a victim. He killed mom and dad, and killed all the people. Can you tell me more details? Obito nodded, and then said, Itachi suppressed himself that night and completed the task. Because the Konoha Shinobi village has always had a big problem since its birth, and this problem determines the fate of Itachi. Obito muttered to himself 3.3, and then said, before I can tell you about Itachi, I must go back to the time when Konoha Shinobi village was founded. So what? Good. Chapter 566 Sengoku Secrets, the strongest two races. Why should I believe you? To be precise, you are not worthy of my belief. In Sasuke's view, Obito is one of the butchers who perished the Uchiha clan. How can such people be believed? Good. I really have no way to present any evidence, so, it's up to you to believe my words. But the premise is that you listen to me quietly. After hearing Obito's words, Sasuke finally chose to compromise temporarily after a short period of thought. Okay, just talk about it. Obito didn't talk nonsense and began to speak slowly. This is more than 80 years ago, when the world was in the Sengoku era with constant wars. Countries at that time were constantly expanding their territories for their own benefit, which led to endless wars. At the time of 26 full wars, the ninja was just an armed group based on ethnic groups, and each ethnic group would be hired by various countries to directly participate in the war. In the crowd of ninja groups, there are two groups that are considered the strongest, and everyone is very afraid of them. One is the Uchiha clan, and the other is the Senju clan. Our Uchiha clan has a special chakra, Sharingan. It is a fighting clan who is good at all kinds of battles, so it is very famous. And I am considered to have a particularly powerful chakra in the Uchiha clan. I can live to this day. This is direct evidence. Advertisement, I have been fighting before. In that era when power was always the same, I even wanted to kill my friends and brother in pursuit of stronger power. Obito obviously knows everything about Madara. In addition to the decisive side of Uchiha Madara, there is also the tender side of iron filings. When Sasuke heard Obito's words, he was shocked. He had heard about killing relatives and friends with his own hands from Itachi, but it was nowhere near as impactful as Obito vomited out of his mouth. Because the identity of Obito in here is Uchiha Madara. Spit out from his mouth is tantamount to an indisputable fact of this matter. Obito did not respond to Sasuke's look and continued. It is for this reason that I got Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and became the leader of the Uchiha clan. Later, I used this power to fight the Senju clan several times. Even if I have this powerful power, there is still an existence in the Senju clan that can compete with me. You must have guessed who this person is. He is Senju Hashirama, later first Hokage. He is also the apex of the ninja world and the only opponent I recognize and admire. That's why. Later, as long as the Senju clan takes action, we Uchiha clan will follow suit. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Advertisement, protect. My brother knew what I was thinking, so he gave it to me, but one day, the Senju clan offered us a truce. So once someone hires the Senju clan, the opposing faction will hire us the Uchiha clan, and the two sides have become rivals. Obito asked back and explained, as long as you have a stronger power, your reputation will become louder and your enemies will be reduced accordingly. In order to make a name for yourself, would you hesitate to take away your brother's eyes? In the fierce battle. Hearing this, Sasuke suddenly remembered what Itachi said to him before the battle with him. In order to bring me closer to the peak, in order to measure my measure. So Sasuke took the initiative to ask, during my confrontation with Hashirama, I became more and more famous. In order to prevent the Senju clan and other foreign enemies from attacking us, this is a necessary sacrifice. As for the so-called famous name, it was just formed directly. The reason for this is very simple. In that era, only our clan could fight against them. Both of us are tired of the endless rush, and most of us have reached the limit. I did this, but it was because I wanted to protect the power that the U-773 Chia clan must have. Obito Kaido. Isn't it? But, I am the only one who opposes a truce. So, all the people agreed to GJ. Chapter 567 Veil of the End, Nine Tails Disaster. The reason for my objection is simple. I just don't want the sacrifices of my people and brothers to be worthless. In my opinion, how long the Uchiha clan and Senju have fought, it has already reached the point where water and fire are incompatible. Even if the war is truce, it can only bring in temporary peace. Moreover, I have a hunch that one day the Uchiha clan will be expelled by the Senju clan. But things backfired. The people of Uchiha want a truce, and as a leader, I can only follow everyone's wishes. It didn't take long for our ninja coalition forces to sign an agreement with the Fire Nation, who hoped to pacify the territory. At this time, a powerful organization of one country and one village was formed. That is the Konoha Shinobi village. Later, other countries also started to learn Zai's system of one country, one village, so the war was gradually subsided. For this reason, the whole continent ushered in a brief peace. However, the Konoha Shinobi village was immediately plunged into chaos because of one incident. After hearing what Obito had said, Sasuke was already aroused and couldn't help but ask. What's up? The ownership of the village chief is the so-called first-generation Hokage. Advertisement. Obito responded and continued. As you know, Senju Hashirama later got the position of first Hokage. With the passage of time, the Senju clan of Mori has more and more power in the hands. On the contrary, the Uchiha clan, our former opponent, has been rejected and gradually moved away from the center of power. In order to protect the Uchiha clan, I chose to embark on the road where the Uchiha clan dominates the village, so I started a confrontation with Hashirama. And this kind of behavior of mine fell in the eyes of others, but it became that I acted for my own desires, and even contempted me for being a ruthless brother who took the eyes of my younger brother at all costs in order to save my own life. How can there be an older brother in this world who thinks of hurting his younger brother? The reason why I accepted my younger brother's eyes is to protect the Uchiha clan. Because my ideas are contrary to those of the people, I was betrayed by everyone. For this reason, I left the family and the village. Later I became an avenger and challenged Konoha Shinobi village. In that battle I lost after Senju Hashirama, and that place is called Valley of the End by later generations. Everyone thinks where I died, even Hashirama thinks so I was forgotten by the world and history. Later Hashirama died, and his brother Senju Tobirama succeeded the second Hokage. In order to prevent a traitor like me from appearing in the village, the Uchiha clan was given a special position to show his trust in our clan, which later became the Konoha police force. But in fact, this measure is to keep the Uchiha clan away from the politics of the village and let the village directly monitor us. Soon, someone from the Uchiha clan discovered the village's attempt, and as a result, a rebel force that inherited my will appeared. Advertisement. But it's too late. All important rights fall into the hands of the Senju clan, and the glorious Uchiha clan has become a running dog driven by them. How sad. Later things developed as I thought. After the incident that caused the Nine-Tails monsters and foxes to disrupt the village, the Uchiha clan was completely expelled from the center of rights. At this point, Sasuke asked again, what is the connection between these two things? Don't you know yet? Obito asked back, and then said, can you understand the sealed Nine-Tails and the Nine-Tails imp? This is the connection. Because only our Uchiha clans, Jiao Jiaohao, pupil power can tame and control Nine-Tails. Therefore, the senior officials of Konoha Shinobi village believe that this incident was caused by the Uchiha clan. But that is a kind of natural disaster, and it has nothing to do with us. Obito obviously concealed the truth here, because it was him who controlled Nine-Tails to Konoha. However, it is obviously impossible for him to tell this secret. It's also because of this demon. We are questioned by a high-level and tribal group, whether it was a rebellion triggered by a struggle for sovereignty. Chapter 568 Double Agent. Difficult choices. It is precisely because of the Nine-Tails disaster that the Uchiha clan was completely monitored by Konoha. The place of residence of the tribesmen has also been driven to the corner of the village, which is no different from the so-called isolation. Although third Hokage stood up against this proposal, Anbu's Danzo and the consultant disagreed with him. Adding to the fact that there are people secretly contributing to the flames, other people and tribes in the village have also begun to disbelieve and even discriminate against ours. With the passage of time, their distrust of us has reached an unsatisfactory chasm, and for this reason, this suspicion later evolved into a real fact. Unwilling to live in this repressive atmosphere, the Uchiha clan decided to launch a coup to seize the sovereignty of the village. Such a major event, naturally cannot be accomplished overnight, so spies appeared, 777. And this Uchiha spy who was sent to the top of Konoha Shinobi village is no one else, but your brother, Uchiha Itachi. This is also the beginning of Itachi's fall into darkness. After listening to Obito's words, Sasuke's scalp was a little numb, and his eyes stared at the boss, obviously in disbelief. Whether it was the Uchiha clan attempting a coup d'état, or Itachi became a spy of the clan and so on, all of this exceeded his expectations. Although you are also a member of the Uchiha clan, you were still young at the time, and there is excuse for not knowing these things. Advertisement. In other words, you are not eligible for this coup. The mastermind of this incident was not someone else, but your father, Uchiha Fugaku, and Itachi was the spy who was ordered by your father to sneak into the dark. Although Itachi acquiesced in this order, but he made another amazing decision, that's him. The relevant information of the Uchiha clan was leaked to the village. For this reason, he became a double agent. At this point, Obito glanced at Sasuke and continued, you shouldn't be able to imagine what kind of pressure Itachi is carrying? Yes, you haven't seen a war, and it's reasonable to have no way to understand this. In the Third Ninja World War, Itachi, who was only 4 years old, witnessed the deaths of many people with his own eyes. He had experienced war when he was very young, a battle like hell. This also makes Itachi a peace-loving person who doesn't like to fight back and forth. The most serious result is the destruction of Konoha Shinobi village. Even the country of fire may be swallowed by other countries or divided by other countries. Therefore, the top management gave him a secret task, an eye for an eye. How was Itachi at that time? I can't imagine it. If you were Itachi, how would you choose? Advertisement. So, he resolutely chose righteousness to destroy relatives. Accordingly, how can ordinary people bear the heart to kill their compatriots, but Itachi gave up his little family for everyone. The big love in his heart surpassed the selfish little love, and this was the cruel and bloody night. This is obviously not the result Itachi would like to see. At that time, it will not be as simple as Konoha's civil strife. It is very likely that a war between countries will break out, and even the Fourth Ninja War will break out directly. it will undoubtedly be another life disastrous. But you are the one he can't do anyway, and it's also the right he tries to protect, and it's one of the conditions he reached with Konoha's senior management. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. He is such a person. In the end, Obito threw a question to Sasuke. But he still forced himself to make a choice, simple and straightforward. Sharingan is required to deal with the Uchiha clan, and the content of this task is to kill everyone in the Uchiha clan, including the old and weak women and children, as I told you earlier. A ninja who is not, CGDD, bound by racial yokes and loves the village, but the high level of the village took advantage of him. Therefore, he will give priority to the stability of the village and devote his efforts to peace, or do his best. Besides, Itachi also knew in his heart that if so many powerful ninjas of the Uchiha clan start a civil war, it will directly shake the foundation of Konoha Shinobi Village, and even the entire country of fire. Chapter 569 The only variable in the 10-year plan. If you were Itachi, how would you choose? Sasuke didn't answer Obito's question, but he turned up the storm in his heart, who was silent on the surface. Although Itachi personally drew a tragic end to the once glorious clan, he did not betray so much because he hated the Uchiha clan. But there is no way. The differential treatment after the prosperity of the village and the gap between grievances that both sides have buried. Itachi carried these things alone, and sacrificed himself to make that kind of decision, so no one could blame him. Seeing Sasuke like this, Obito continued. In fact, I was looking for opportunities to start a war at that time. Because I hate the Konoha Shinobi village established by the Senju clan, and I also hate the Uchiha clan. But it's a pity that this incident was discovered by Itachi, and he was the only one who discovered my existence. Itachi asked to meet with me and made a condition for me. He said he can help me deal with the Uchiha clan, but relatively, I can't attack the village. Although third Hokage is willing to solve the problem by means of reconciliation, the incident with Nine Tails caused no turning point in this matter. Obito has been reminding Sasuke that the so-called Nine Tails disaster is just an unfortunate natural disaster, not man-made. He wants to make Sasuke turn against him. Naturally, he wants to hide some important information. So, the task Itachi performs in the end is to become a fugitive ninja as a criminal who killed the tribe and bear the stigma. No accident, Itachi successfully completed this task with my help. Advertisement. But he made a very serious mistake, that is, he couldn't bear to kill his brother. The reason why he agreed to perform this task is naturally partly to protect you. So he asked third Hokage to protect you from the dangers of Danzo and the high-level villagers. He was still worried before leaving, so he went directly to Danzo. He threatened to divulge all the village information to other Shinobu villages if he dared to do something to you. It can be seen how much he cares about your safety. But he has no way to tell you the truth, so he can only carry out the lie to the end, forcing you time and time again, so that you have the motivation to live. This is equivalent to motivating you to keep getting stronger. Even if he dies, you can still have the power to protect yourself. At the same time, he also convinced you that the Uchiha clan in Konoha Shinobi village is a glorious clan, and not a traitor trying to subvert sovereignty. He asked Hokage not to let you know the truth. To be precise, he decided to fight between you when he left the village. And, ultimately, you will die in your hands. All this is to give you a new power, a stronger power after his death. For flowers. This is the truth about Itachi and his life. However, I'm afraid he didn't expect you to wake up in advance, Mangekyo Sharingan. To be honest, this is also beyond my expectation. Advertisement. Obviously, this is the only variable in the 10-year plan. When I heard this, Sasuke really felt awkward. Liar. Even though his mouth is deceptive, his tone and emotion have already betrayed him. Thinking of what Itachi said to him before his death, and the last fetter of the latter before his death, it was enough to prove everything. With a dull look on his face, the sound of dream eating was constantly in his mouth at this time. Liar. These are all a lie. I don't know how long it took. Sasuke's complexion changed, and then he suddenly raised his head, a pair of dark eyes staring at the leader like an abyss. You talk nonsense. I almost died in his hands several times. What's the explanation for this? Ha ha, Obito chuckled, then said, you know it's almost 2. With the strength of Itachi, if you really wanted to kill you, then you would have died long ago. How could it be possible to sit here and talk to me safe and sound? Yes or not? You know better than anyone. Chapter 570. A wall that cannot be destroyed. But he, Itachi, even used the Mangekyo Sharingan pupil technique to kill me. How do you explain this? Obito explained Sasuke's doubts patiently. Because you have awakened Mangekyo, you can use Susanoo to avoid it. The only thing he didn't expect is that your awakened Mangekyo abilities are all related to Amaterasu, which may be the so-called variable. It's the only place where he miscalculated. The reason why he wants to do this is nothing more than to drive you into a desperate situation. As for why he did 780, if you think about it carefully, you will find 2 reasons for Itachi. The first is to rescue you from the curse. Obviously, he has been monitoring Orochimaru during the 2 years when you were captured by Orochimaru, knowing what he has done to you. For this reason, even if the news of Orochimaru's fall is heard, there is still a trace of worry in his heart. As for the second reason, that is to use the death of the person closest to you to help you awaken Mangekyo, but because of your early awakening, this becomes meaningless. All in all, this battle between you is completely arranged in advance by Itachi, and he pretended to take your eyes away at the moment of his death. Now you should know the ins and outs of the whole thing. Hearing this, Sasuke basically believed everything Obito called. He is not stupid. As long as you analyze it carefully, you can find out many flaws in Itachi. Are they true or false? But despite the facts, Sasuke was unacceptable for a while. It's not that he doesn't believe it, but that he doesn't want to believe it. Advertisement because he was the culprit who sent his Itachi and his brother who loved him the most to hell by himself, which made him totally unacceptable. You are lying to me. Sasuke snarled, and then said, you are the one who caused the Nine-Tails monster to mess up the village. This is what Itachi told me. You want to let the Uchiha clan take the blame, so you join forces with Itachi to play with our clan. Sasuke grabbed the wrong statement of the two, hoping to break Obito's so-called truth. Ah, Obito chuckled softly, and then said, that's the lie that Itachi said. I should have mentioned this just now. The reason is simple, it's afraid that you know the truth. Your intention is to make you not believe me, and even leave Amaterasu in your eyes for a while and want to attack me. His purpose is already obvious. Whether you don't believe me or I am dead, both can prevent you from knowing the truth. How can I believe this kind of thing? Sasuke yelled and continued yelling, Itachi is an evil guy, he is a criminal who kills a tribe and throws himself into Shao. Ha ha, Obito sneered and continued to respond to Sasuke. He left the village alone with criminals that could not be washed away, and also joined the Akatsuki organization to monitor this threatening organization. What he did is undoubtedly worrying about the Konoha Shinobi village. At the same time I am worried about you, advertisement. After all, you are still a member of Konoha. Once the village suffers, you will naturally be in danger. So he spent the rest of his life guarding the village and guarding you. Furthermore, he didn't return to Konoha 3 years ago to hunt for Nine-Tails, he went back because of you. He was worried that Danzo and Konoha would attack you, so he used this extreme method to tell those people that he was still alive. As long as he is still alive, no one dares to move you. At this time, the more Sasuke listened, the more upset he became, because the truth he knew was already inseparable, but he couldn't accept it for a short time. Do not talk. All this is a lie, humph. Obito snorted coldly and asked, if all this is a lie, then why are you still alive? You awakened, Mangekyo. That can see through almost everything, but you can't see through anything Itachi. Neither did I see through any illusions he used in 3.3. But what about Itachi? He killed all his friends, bosses, lovers, parents, etc., but he couldn't bear to kill his brother. The man who keeps blood and tears to suppress his emotions and mercilessly slaughter his close friends and relatives for the sake of the village just can't bear to kill you. Do you know what this means? For him, your life is more important than the stability of the village and the peace of the world. You are a wall in his heart that can't be destroyed anyway. Chapter 571 A New Journey, Change from Snake to Eagle. You are a wall Itachi, cannot destroy. Before he died, he gave you new strength, and after death, he gave you a glory. Itachi wants you to defeat him, so that you can successfully avenge the Uchiha clan and become the hero of the Konoha Shinobi village. He found out that he was about to die of illness, so he used drugs to force me to survive. All of this is his favorite brother, so he has to fight and die in your hands. For the peace of Konoha Shinobi village, and you, he resolutely chose to let himself die as a criminal and a traitor. He took stigma as the price of reputation and hatred as the price of love, but he died happily. He wants to entrust the name Uchiha to your younger brother, and wants to deceive you all the time, even if he died. As the conversation between Obito and Sasuke ended, everything fell into silence. 2 days later, Sasuke stood on a rugged blue stone, looking at the sea below her feet. Her eyes were extremely deep, like two black abysses. Next second, there was mist in his eyes, and the crystal clear things swirled in them. As Sasuke's eyes closed, 2 lines of clear tears were subtly falling. Obviously, he had convinced himself that he completely believed the truth about Itachi. At this time, there were 3 people and 1 beast standing behind Sasuke. The 3 people besides Suizuki and Shigogo were Obito. Advertisement as for a beast, it is the new summoning beast signed by Sasuke. It was an eagle with gray and white all over it. When Sasuke's eyes opened again, the color of his pupils had changed suddenly, revealing the Mangekyo shape of a 6-pointed star. Not only that, at this time, his expression also had a great change, and there was a bit of terrible smell in the cold forest. Immediately afterwards, the corners of his mouth moved slightly, making a low groan. We have left, Snake. From now on, our team's name will be changed to Eagle, and continue to act. Eagle has only one purpose, we want to destroy Konoha Shinobi village. The reason why Sasuke has such an idea is undoubtedly because he wants revenge for Itachi. But when his inner thoughts had such a drastic change, Shiyu had never appeared before. Shiyu's purpose is simple. At this time, Sasuke's performance is undoubtedly the most real side, and only this side will make Obito believe in him greatly. This is why Shiyu used the latter to let Sasuke know the truth. That night, Sasuke looked up at the full moon and starry sky, seeming to remember something. Seeing what Sasuke looked like, Obito from behind couldn't help but ask. Advertisement, what are you doing? Looking at the moon at night like this will remind you of the night 10 years ago and the memory I have always wanted to forget. Sasuke responded, but there was no hatred of the past on his face, only an inexplicable emotion was rippling in his heart. I thought I was wrong, all this is an illusion. But now it seems that I actually didn't find it. Looking back now, everything you told me a few days ago has been verified. Obito heard that the face of the mask hadn't changed much. It seemed that all this was in his expectation. 780. Unfortunately, Itachi's body was burned to nothingness. Otherwise, I can help you transplant his eyes. Obito obviously didn't tell Sasuke the truth. A mysterious person appeared after their decisive battle that day. In his opinion, there are only two possibilities for Itachi's body to be burned into nothingness. The first is the black flames of Amaterasu left by them during the decisive battle, and the second is probably man-made, which is what they call a mysterious person. But Obito still doesn't know what the mysterious man means. Therefore, he did not count the truth to Sasuke. His answer was that Itachi was burned into nothingness by Amaterasu. There is no doubt. He wanted to investigate on his own, and didn't want Sasuke to affect his next plan because of this incident. Chapter 572. The destruction begins. Two shinobi swords. Even if his, Itachi, eyes are still there, I will not transplant his eyes, because what he wants to see is completely different from what I want to see in the future. I can't do what Itachi hopes, but I will use my method to revive the Uchiha clan. When the voice fell, Sasuke turned and left. As for Obito, I found Kisame. On the hill, two figures stood opposite each other. Senior Kisame, I have something to tell you, Obito said. For Obito, an unidentified guy, Kisame didn't hold any fear or awe for him, as he was as cold as usual. After joining the Shao organization, only in front of Itachi can he show his feelings a little bit. Alfie, I thought you were dead. The last time I was fighting with the little guy from the Ghost Lantern clan, that guy came out to get in the way. This time I changed it to you. As a result, you became the last one. Obito murmured deeply, and then said slyly, I'm so sorry, I actually lied to you, the person by my side. Obito's so-called last person naturally refers to the various members they recruited. Nagato, Xiaonan, Zei Obito are the core members of the founding of Newborn, Akatsuki. But Itachi, Kakuzu, Kisame and others recruited later. Now only Kisame is left. And after Kisame heard Obito's words, the expressionless face that had been expressionless for many years finally showed a strange color. At this moment, his gaze was staring at Obito, wanting to see the real face under his mask. Upon seeing this, Obito did not talk nonsense. He raised his hand and pressed it on his khaki-threaded mask, and then slowly took it off. Next second, when he saw Obito's true face, Kisami's eyes condensed. After being sluggish for a while, Kisame was relieved, and then he showed a meaningful smile. It turned out to be such a long time. Advertisement. I really didn't expect a Fae to be you. From this sentence of Kisame, we can know that he obviously knows Obito. Because Obito once controlled Kirigakure, the man of 4th Hokage, and Kisame knew about it. It turns out that you are behind the scenes, so I can rest assured. In this way, it will be more convenient for us to move, Master Mizukage. Oh no, Mr. Madara. Kisame, I will ask you in the future, Obito said. After revealing their identities to Kisame and having a conversation, the two were completely submerged in darkness. On the second day, in a stone chamber. At this time, there are 5 figures, in addition to Kisame and Obito. The other 3 are naturally Sasuke, Suizuki and Shigogo. Sasuke, you said you want to eliminate Konoha Shinobi Village. What is the specific goal? The target I want to kill is the high level of the village, and the others are not my target, Sasuke replied. But as long as you attack the top, the people below will go back to protect them. Things are not as simple as you think. Just relying on your organization named Eagle, the combat power is not enough, Kisame analyzed. When Shuei heard this, he said, I said Senior Kisame, you better not underestimate us. Our last game hasn't been decided yet, as long as I get serious. However, before Shuei finished speaking, she was interrupted by Shigego on her side. Shuei, stop talking. Humph. Shuei obviously didn't listen. After a cold snort, he rushed towards Kisame with the decapitator in his hand. Obito saw this and spoke again. Advertisement, Sasuke, you didn't teach him well. When the voice fell, Obito directly shook the beheading knife in Shuei's hand with his bare hands. Moreover, it was indeed blocked immediately afterwards. However, I have to remind you that you can't beat him now. Sasuke can see this. Although he has not played against Kisame, he still knows the strength of the latter. All right. He was once a prisoner of the latter. Compared with the two, the combat power of the two is already superior. At this moment Shuei was also extremely surprised, and said in his heart, this guy actually only relies on one hand. That's why. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Shuei, what are you doing? Jongwoo said, and what about Shuei? Sasuke, what should I do? Sasuke spit out 2 words with a flat face, and then said, Shuei, do whatever you want. Of course, part of the reason is unexpected. After hearing Shuei's words, Shigeo looked at Zhao Qian's to Sasuke. Obito obviously knows where the decapitation broadsword falls. One blow is to dissolve Shuei's offensive. Obito waved his arm, and Mizuki really retreated. My purpose is to get Samahata, and I will follow Sasuke to collect 7 ninja swords. Being able to become a member of the Shao organization is enough to prove its extraordinary strength, at least as pure as Orochimaru. Chapter 573 Attack. The Union of Eagle and Akatsuki. When Sasuke said that he was inferior to Kisame, Suigetsu was naturally unconvinced. Sasuke, you dare to say it? Believe it or not, I can treat you to delicious shark fins later. The so-called shark fin in Shuei's mouth naturally refers to Kisame, which is replaced by a human-shaped shark in the eyes of the world. At this moment, Obito once again expressed his thoughts. As Kisame said just now, your Eagle team's current strength is a bit unrealistic to slaughter the Konoha high level. And now our Shao organization's strength has also been weakened to a certain extent. Since our goals are the same, why don't our two join forces to act together? Sasuke heard the words and asked directly, if you act in your way, what can we do in return? I will give you tail beasts. As soon as Obito said this, all the people present except Kisame, Sasuke, were extremely shocked. Obviously 780, he didn't expect Obito to give such an answer. Tailed beast? Sasuke chanted, and some memories of the past appeared in his mind. Originally, he had no idea about this title, but the previous paragraph was when he was with Shiyu, and they had a brief conversation. Because Gaara seemed to be targeted by the Shao organization because of the existence of the tail beast in his body, but he didn't understand it deeply. In other words, Shiyu didn't elaborate with them. For a simple example, you should know the 9 tails demon fox. The tail beasts exist just like it. There are 9 such creatures, named after the number of tail beasts. Advertisement, they are chakra aggregates, so there is a saying that they are immortal. It's also because of CGDD that tail beasts will be defined as monsters by humans. Originally, first Hokage collected them and controlled them, but when the ninja war broke out, Hokage Hashirama sold these tail beasts to other countries, led by the 5 major countries. Take this to implement treaties and constraints, and maintain the balance of power of all parties. In general, the tail beast is the ultimate chakra weapon. This condition should be pretty good. After a brief consternation, Sasuke said slowly, you are really generous. But if you are fat, Shao, then you must die. Obito's tone remained calm, as if to say something very simple. It was as if Sasuke, who possessed Mangekyo Sharingan, was in front of him, still unable to overcome any storms. And it is true. Since he dared to tell Sasuke part of the truth, he naturally had the ability to subdue the latter. Being as strong as Itachi, it is not impossible to obliterate him, let alone Sasuke. In Obito's view, Sasuke is much easier to control than Itachi. Itachi is always a time bomb in his eyes, and a careless person may cause fire and even death. So, when Itachi was still alive, he was always cautious, not to mention walking on thin ice, but he was also struggling and could only implement the plan slowly. Now that Itachi fell, he accelerated the plan. This shows that he is afraid of Itachi. After a brief silence in the atmosphere, Kisame Itachi opened the situation. Advertisement, as Afei said, there are 9-tailed ferrets in this world. And now we have collected 7, and the next 2 have not been hunted. He didn't want to conflict with Shiba and Naruto, but he wanted to kill Konoha's high-ranking officials. Well, 9 tails will be handled by Shao, while the other one will be hunted by you, Eagle. Because you want to catch Naruto, you have to cross the mountain of Shiyu, but in the eyes of Sasuke, in today's ninja world, it may be difficult to find an existence that can compete with the latter. Because he was walking with Shiyu not long ago, he naturally got some information from the latter. And, in his opinion, Obito's plan is unlikely to succeed. Sasuke did not object to Obito's proposal. Naturally, Sasuke knew this. After listening to Obito and Kisame at this moment, he naturally inferred that Naruto is still safe. He naturally didn't want to conflict with Naruto, after all, their relationship now is as good as ever. So, he agreed to Obito's proposal. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. So, we, Shao, and you, Eagle, go to find the remaining 2 separately. This is my proposal. Obito took the call. I know you have some friendship with 9 Tails Imp. Naruto was under protection during this time, so he didn't show up. In other words, you haven't caught the 9 Tails Demon Fox. As for the other one, he doesn't care, nor does he want to care. Especially the culprit, Danzo. Chapter 574, a shocking mysterious boy. The second day. On the shore of Bluestone Lake in a certain place, 2 figures stood opposite each other. The man with a barbed hat on his head looked at the man in the orange mask opposite and asked, how about it? It went well. The man with the orange mask is faintly Kaido, he is naturally Obito. That's great. Itachi is dead, our thorns have been removed, and the condition that was wrong, Konoha Shinobi Village start, will no longer exist, Obito said. Yes, I've been waiting for a long time, however, the fellow Itachi is quite ruthless. In order to prevent Sasuke from knowing his truth, he even set up the transliteration seal of Amaterasu, Black Zetsu said. Even if there is no so-called truth, he is afraid I will win Sasuke. Unexpectedly, before the plan was on track, the members of the Shao organization would die so many. Obito nodded and said with a little regret, although they all have a little problem, they have all done voluntary sacrifice for Akatsuki. Deidara, Hidan, Kakuzu, Sasori, without their help, the preparatory work will not go so smoothly. Thanks to them, our ability to proceed according to the estimated plan. I still persuade Sasuke right now, this is undoubtedly a great new help for us. After a conversation with Ju, Obito went to Rain Shinobi Village. He wanted to see if Pain had set off. However, when he rushed to Rain Shinobi Village, Pain still hadn't been dispatched. Moreover, there seems to be traces of a great war here. Advertisement at noon that day, the center of the tower. Obito looked at the heavenly Dao Pain in front and asked. It seems that things are not going well, because someone came here suddenly, Pain Kaido. Oh, Pen, who has invincible abilities, will fall into a bitter battle. Who is this person? When Obito said this, Kisame on the other side also showed a different color. In his opinion, besides Itachi, the most powerful member of the Shao organization is undoubtedly their leader who claims to be a god. Although he has never played against the latter, and has never seen him make a move, Pain's eyes that are unique in the world are enough to prove his extraordinary strength. Rinnegan, this is the first time he has seen him in humans. Originally, he thought that this kind of eyes only existed in the legend, but the appearance of Pain undoubtedly broke the legend. And people like Sasori, Kakuzu, and others are willing to join the Akatsuki organization. Part of the reason is because of these eyes. Regarding Obito's inquiry, Pain did not conceal and simply recounted all the facts. It turned out to be Jiraiya, one of Sannin, no wonder. Obito sent a sentence with feelings, which is enough to show his recognition of Jiraiya's strength. In terms of seniority, Jiraiya is his teacher, Obito is the student of 4th Hokage, and Minato is the apprentice of Jiraiya, so the former is undoubtedly the apprentice of the latter. Originally, I was about to kill him, but I didn't expect to finally make a variable and save him. Variable? Obito and Kisame were shocked when they heard this, and they were very curious about the guy who could be rescued by the Vice Admiral of Pain. Pain nodded, telling the fact that both of them were unbelievable. That's a teenager, advertisement, for flowers. According to seniority, he should be regarded as my junior. Your brother? Obito murmured, and then said, when did Jiraiya accept such a strong disciple again? Was it the genius he met when he was in a sea of clouds? Apparently, for the mysterious boy who was able to save Jiraiya from Pain, Obito did not associate him with Toki for a while. Because they also talked about this boy at the beginning, they suspect that Kakuzu, Hidan, etc. may have some connection with this boy. That boy is called Takikawa Shiger. No, this person was born in Konoha. He is not stupid, he has already thought of a general idea combining the words of the two. At this point, Obito immediately asked Pain for confirmation. I am not sure. According to their master's information, it is impossible for anyone in Konoha's new generation to possess such heaven-defying power. But if you say who among Konoha's young people is the most likely, it is definitely this person, because this person has already emerged 3 years ago. Kisame suddenly thought of something, and Shiyu's face could not help but appeared in his mind, because he suffered a loss in the latter's hands 3 years ago. Why? Kisame, do you know the boy? Obito let out a horror, his gaze shifted from where Pen to him. In the case of Naruto, Pain should have revealed his identity directly instead of calling him a teenager. Is it him? Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Next second. As for Naruto, it was directly ruled out. Hearing this, Obito's heart was shocked. As Pain said this, Obito and Kisame were a little messy. If Itachi's illusion skills were not strong enough, the consequences would be disastrous. Chapter 575 The Truth? Complicated brother-in-law relationship. That boy is Takikawa Tokiha, Obito said. Good. Pain nodded and then said, it is the boy, he is also the mysterious person who had been with me for a short time. What? It turned out to be him. Obito can't calm down a little bit between the words, because Shiba only became a ninja more than a year ago. At such a young age, he can already play against Pain's lair and retreat calmly. Such strengths are not generally available. If Pain did not lie, then there not long ago, 787, speculation is likely to be true? That is, Sasori, Hidan, Angle and Idara's death may not be separated from the latter. Because in their time, Yu participated in their last battle. Now that he learned that he had such a powerful force long ago, it was natural to doubt him. Otherwise, with the power Konoha has now, it is simply unrealistic to kill the 4 of them without any casualties. This is the end of my thought. Obito also thought of the possibility that the mysterious man who was now interfering with his journey to Uchiha's secret base a few days ago is likely to be the latter. Although this is just a guess, based on his current master's intelligence, Shiyu's suspicion is undoubtedly the biggest. After he had doubted the target, he was ready to verify it. He believes that the truth will come to the surface for as long as it takes. Advertisement at this moment, Kisame suddenly asked. Pain, I really want to know what exactly did that boy use to escape from under your nose? Kisame only knew that Shiyu had awakened Mangekyo Sharingan, and he knew the power of both eyes. One is that the body can be made into nothingness, which is similar to the ability of a leader, but as for whether it can be integrated into the dimensional space like the latter, he doesn't know. For such a mysterious teenager, he needs to know more about it. Maybe in the near future, they may also be on the same side. It is very necessary to know some enemies' ninjutsu in advance. Take Pen 6 paths for example. If you can't tell the secrets of 6 paths and blindly fight with them, you will basically only fall away. Unless your own strength far exceeds Pen 6 paths. Otherwise, even if you have the same strength as it, even if it is slightly better, there will be only one result waiting for you in the end. That is, being slowly worn to death. If I guessed correctly, it should be Flying Thunder God technique. When Pain said this, both Obito and Kisame were taken aback. They are absolutely no strangers to this ninjutsu. Although they don't know much about second Hokage Senju Tobirama, who created this ninjutsu, they are from the same age as 4th Hokage Namikaze Minato. Especially Obito, he is a student of Minato, Since 4th generation sealed the sacrifice of 9 tails, this ninjutsu has also been broken. Advertisement. Obito let out a sigh, having infinite memories of this ninjutsu. Because of this, he agreed to cooperate with Obito. After all, this is his teacher's famed stunt. Of course, it may not have been unearthed. In terms of generations starting from 3.3, 4th generation can be said to be Pain's brother. Although his cultivation method has not been lost, none of Konoha's current ninjas can successfully practice. Throughout Konoha's generation, there is no ninja with extraordinary accomplishments in time and space ninjutsu. But it's a pity that their space-time ninjutsu talent is not high, and they can't tell the mystery of this ninjutsu at all. Not only did he have this idea, but even Kisame and Pain were no exception. The only master who has a bit of fur is Shiranui Genma, Jizutong and Diawai. The 3 of them used to be the guards of 4th Hokage. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. In this way, it can only be buried ruthlessly. He not only wants there to be no war in the world, but also to eliminate the possible cause. Let him control all of this. After all, some people don't like to study this field, so his talent in this area is naturally not known to outsiders. Because he has the same idea, and even worse, it was for this reason that they got 4th Hokage's guidance, and then the master got a little bit of fur. The two have never seen each other, but the name Pafeng Minato has spread throughout the ninja world. For this hero who ended the 3rd Ninja War, Pain naturally admires it. Unexpectedly, this ninjutsu actually reappears in the world. Chapter 576. All parties are moving. Finally met. Unexpectedly, Flying Thunder God technique will reappear one day. Obito murmured softly, with sighs and emotions, immediately afterwards. Obito turned around and said slowly, now that Jiraiya has escaped, it means that you have been exposed. Furthermore, Konoha Shinobi Village must be eyeing you, and even the whole village has made all-round defenses. The longer time passes, the more likely they are to come up with countermeasures. So, take action before it may be blocked. After Obito's voice fell, a sound and shadow that did not belong to the 3 people present came. Pen is invincible. No matter how 26, he will hunt 9 tails. With the sound of this voice, sheets of white paper floated in the sky, and then turned into a love shadow on Pen's side. This beautiful shadow is not someone else, it is Shao Nan. There are 2 more tail beasts. I asked Sasuke to find 8 tails, Obito said. No problem. I can guarantee that Sasuke is fine. Obito said confidently, and it is true. Sasuke really hated Konoha after learning the truth about Itachi, so he is undoubtedly on Obito's side at this moment. Of course, he is not aimed at all. I just want to get rid of the Konoha high level, so as to master Konoha. Let Konoha develop according to Lei's thoughts. Advertisement. Now that Itachi is gone, this will naturally be inherited by his younger brother. At this time, Heavenly Dao Pain stood up and spoke again. Shao Nan, go and prepare. We are going to Konoha Shinobi Village. The location of Pen Rain Shinobi Village has been delayed for a few days. Naturally there are some reasons. First, because things have changed slightly, I plan on his original plan. Second, Shi Yu took the corpse of Beast Dao into the barrier of different space, and he needed to rebuild one. Third, he needs to replan with Obito. Nothing else, just because of Shi Yu's variable. Although he has confidence in his own strength, it is difficult for him to keep Toshiba as the master, Flying Thunder God technique. Therefore, it must be arranged in advance, otherwise, it is undoubtedly an extremely difficult thing to successfully hunt 9 tails. When Pen and the others acted, Sasuke and his party were already on their way to the Land of Thunder. 8 Tails Master is in Rain Shinobi Village, they still know. But he naturally didn't know the real hiding place of the latter. However, they ran into 2 people on the way to Cloud Shinobi Village, 2 familiar people. Seeing one of them was a figure, Sasuke's expression stagnated. The person who came was not someone else, but Takiwa and Shanglin, who had separated from the 3 of them not long ago. Today's Sasuke is already biased towards Akatsuki because of Itachi, so I don't know how to face Toki. Advertisement. It is for this reason that he chose to hunt 8 tails. The atmosphere was silent for a moment, but Sasuke still spoke. Shi Yu, you guys are here. Since I have made a choice, I won't change it easily. I wouldn't have him, Itachi, silently die like that. Sasuke's expression in the words is a bit complicated, because he knows that his choice is destined to be with Shi Yu. Go to the opposite side. However, Shi Yu's next sentence made Sasuke look stunned. Nature. As a younger brother, your choice was correct, but when it came to this point, Takiwa was interrupted by Sasuke. You know. But at this moment he was not struggling with this question, and asked directly. Yes, it's the truth about touch. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Seeing Shi Yu nodding his head, Sasuke's face is also a rare shock, because he doesn't know how Shi Yu learned about the 787. Since you already know this, then you should know my choice. Although he didn't want it very much, he appeared as if he had no choice. Seeing Sasuke with a puzzled look, Shi Yu didn't hide it and went straight to the subject. Sasuke, it seems you already know the truth. If you want to persuade me, then forget it. His choice is not for the others, it is all because of his brother who gave his whole life. Seeing Sasuke's posture, Shi Yu's expression was still plain, because all this was in his expectation. Chapter 577. The Fate of the Arrogant. The same end by different routes? If Itachi is not dead, how do you choose? When you said this, the atmosphere in the court suddenly solidified. Although this is only a hypothesis, the spit out of Toki's mouth makes them feel a little inexplicable. In their eyes, Shi Yu seemed to have the ability to turn all impossible into possible. Otherwise, why can he create his own open black lens bracket sage mode close black lens bracket? Seeing that Sasuke didn't answer, but just silently chatting with himself, Shi Yu said again. If you believe me, continue to follow the previous plan. What I can guarantee is that you will see each other again in the near future. Obviously, Shi Yu didn't let Sasuke meet Itachi right now. Because a lot of things will be disrupted in this way, the tasks presented by the system will probably be disordered, which is not the situation he wants to see. However, Shi Yu's two simple words made Sasuke's look startled, and the bright electric light appeared in his eyes. Undoubtedly, this is the surprise and excitement in his heart. But because he is a person who is not good at expressing his inner feelings, he did not overexpress it on his face. There are no accidents. After a brief conversation, Sasuke temporarily put aside the idea of destroying and dominating Konoha Shinobi village. However, he did not give up the idea of killing Konoha's high-level leaders. For this condition, Shi Yu did not veto it. Advertisement. Because he doesn't have a good impression of Danzo, if Sasuke doesn't kill, he will probably do it himself. After all, Danzo was eyeing him at the beginning. Had it not been for his ability to show some strength later, coupled with the fact that he was very close to Tsunade and Jiraiya, I am afraid he would have done it a long time ago. Of course, there is a more important reason. Because he couldn't see through Shi Yu's depth from beginning to end, he once looked at Shi Yu from a distance, and he was surprised to find that the latter's eyes were like two bottomless abysses, making it impossible to see. This is what makes him jealous. In addition to the news from Sai, it was claimed that it was not Sasuke who killed Orochimaru, but Shi Yu's words. It is also because of this that the jealousy in his heart is deeper. He has been able to sit firmly in the high-level position of Konoha and control a part of the core power for many years, and his city government and resourcefulness are naturally far more comparable. Many decisions are made after careful consideration, just like grabbing Uchiha Shisui's eyes back then. Uchiha Shisui, known as the peerless genius of Uchiha's generation. He has become Jonin at a young age, and his strength is unfathomable. Otherwise, it is impossible to be directly promoted to work in Anbu. But it was such a talented young genius who was still calculated by the pattern, and even had an eye taken away. Is that because Shisui is not as strong as Danzo? Obviously not. Everything is because of Danzo's meticulous arrangement. He understands everything about Shisui and its fatal impact, which makes all the plans successful. Otherwise, with Shisui who has awakened Mangekyo Sharingan a long time ago, how can he end up having his eyes taken away and committing suicide? Advertisement. All this is due to his Ishin's desire for stability in the village and peace in the world. Not only him, but even Itachi, who inherited his thoughts, followed in his footsteps. What a pity. What a sigh. If there is no Shi Yu, the fate of these two great arrogances is undoubtedly going to the same end by different routes, and both will be ruined in Danzo's hands. After the conversation, Shi Yu didn't stay with them because he had more important things to do in Konoha. Pain and the others are heading to Konoha at this time, and a big storm is about to start. Moreover, he still has system tasks to complete. Although Shi Yu himself did not stay, he had given the phosphorus down, and a squad still needed a perception-type ninja. Not only that, but the healing power of aromatic phosphorus is unmatched. As for the comfort of Shanglin, Shi Yu didn't worry too much, and he gave the latter, Zhao Qian Zhao, enough means to save his life. Shi Yu gave her a roll of Shanshu scrolls on the bright side, and Shi Yu left a chakra in her body in private. This chakra is sealed, and it will only be triggered when it encounters aroma phosphorus. This method is similar to Itachi's transfer seal, Minato's 8-sign seal, and Orochimaru's evil seal. When Sasuke and the others rushed to Cloud Shinobi village, Konoha was also caught in a nervous preparation. Nothing else, because Pen is about to attack the paper. And Shi Yu? That night, he appeared in Hong's house. Chapter 578 Yunlei Gorge. 8 Tails Gyuki. There is no doubt that today is Hong's birthday. For this kind of heaven-sent opportunity, Shi Yu will naturally not miss it. Needless to say, he obviously wants to win the ladder tonight. And everything was as he expected, without the slightest accident. In Sanzan, one of Konoha's great beauties, Hong began to degenerate. This night, I am destined to sleepless, and while Shi Yu was immersed in the gentle country, on the other side of the mainland, Sasuke had already arrived in the land of thunder. Boom! Shuei's kick directly knocked a Chunin from Cloud Shinobi village into the air, and then followed, with a violent wave of her hand, and her elbow directly touched the latter's throat. What with a scream, Shui Yu's finally spoke. Say, where is 8 Tails at 793? Humph. The young man snorted coldly, gritted his teeth and said, don't underestimate our family, I won't tell you this kind of thing. Seeing this, the strength in Shuei's hands has increased a bit again. The young ninja of Cloud Shinobi village almost couldn't breathe, his expression was extremely uncomfortable and he was breathing hard. But despite this, the young ninja still didn't mean to compromise. The Yaoi clan will never betray their companions, so let's dye your heart. Seeing the man so stubborn and not afraid of death, Shui Yu did not break for a while, and while he was still thinking about other ways to extract a confession, Sasuke spoke. Advertisement, as long as it is a time when people are afraid, and once they are afraid, then his heart will definitely show up. Hearing Sasuke's words, Cloud Shinobi Ninja felt a little inexplicable. But in the next second, his consciousness was blurred. Nothing else, just because Sasuke's other eye directly changed the shape of the six-pointed star. Needless to say, Sasuke used Mangekyo Sharingan. For the Uchiha clan, nothing is more direct than the use of illusion to torture, and the ordinary torture to extract a confession undoubtedly fell to the bottom. Seeing that the young ninja's eyes were a little blurred, the phosphorus at the back opened his mouth. Shuei, you can let go, Sasuke has used illusion. I used to use some methods to get him to speak, Shui Yu said unconvinced. Having said that, he let it go. Obviously, he admits that Sasuke's method is faster and easier. Tell me where is Eight Tails? Also, what are the characteristics of him? The young ninja at the moment did not shy away from Sasuke's question and answered vaguely. He has 8 knives on his body, iron, tattoos on his right shoulder, and ox horn, CGDD, tattoos on his left cheek. He is in Yunlei Gorge now. After the young ninja told Sasuke everything, he passed out completely in a coma. Seeing that Sasuke had obtained information so easily, Shuei on the side couldn't help but curl his lips. Really, that guy's eyes seem to be stronger again. Obviously, after a battle with Itachi, Sasuke has become more proficient in controlling Mangekyo Sharingan. Advertisement immediately afterwards. The group did not stop here much, stepped on the eagle's back and headed towards the destination. Shortly after, Shigego is the quality of sage body, and it is far better than Sasuke to feel the nature. It's noon. This place is Yunlei Gorge. The point is that he has the word iron on his right shoulder, horn marks on his left cheek, and 8 knives on his back. Killer Bee raised his head to look at the sky, glanced at the hanging round of the sun, and slandered to himself. Open black lens bracket 8 tails Gyuki close black lens bracket Jinchuriki, Killer Bee. Damn it, hole. hole. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Not only that, he is also a middle-aged uncle who likes to rap. To be precise, this kind of place is easier to absorb natural energy, and it is also a good place to practice Shanshu. Sasuke and his party of 4 appeared in a place where rocks rose into the sky, surrounded by verdant greenery, lakes at their feet, and the neighing of birds and beasts occasionally came from all corners of the country. This is really a good place. It allows me to get closer to nature and makes people feel more stable. Everything about him is in line with what the young ninja from Cloud Shinobi Village said before. Obviously he is the target Sasuke and his party are looking for. The bright light makes my eyes sore. This is not the point. Shigego felt the deepest when he came here, therefore, this kind of beautiful scenery is undoubtedly more suitable for him. At this time, a middle-aged man walked out the gate of a building with dark skin and short light yellow hair, still wearing a pair of sunglasses. Chapter 579 Last Stand. Amazing Achievement. Konoha Shinobi Village, the sun is high. When Naruto learned of Six Paths Pen from Jiraiya, his face was surprised and exquisite from time to time. Is that called pain that strong? Naruto felt a little unbelievable. He obviously couldn't believe that a being as strong as Jiraiya was not even the latter's opponent. The most important thing is that this guy named Pain seems to be his brother? Very strong. Jiraiya spit out 2 words heavily, and then added another sentence. Even in Sage Mode, it is very difficult to deal with. It is extremely difficult. Sage Mode? Naruto chanted, his expression shocked. Obviously, he didn't expect that Jiraiya also mastered this method. But when I thought about it, he was relieved. After all, the latter had already signed the summoning blood contract with Mount Myoboku, and it made sense to be able to master the magic. Because of this, it shocked his heart even more. Because he is now a master, Sage Mode, although it is only a preliminary master, he deeply understands how heaven-defying this method is. This is a fairy technique that can skyrocket several times in one's own strength. But even so, Jiraiya still lost. From this, it can be seen how strong is Pen. Needless to say, it must be a level that is still heard. Advertisement originally, Naruto was still complacent because he had initially mastered the Sage Mode, but now that he wants to come, he still needs to further improve his strength. In other words, better control of Sage Mode, coupled with the 9 Tails status, he can use and knowing the weakness of Six Paths Pain, it may be a battle. Although he knows that Shiyu is very strong and can definitely fight that strong mess of Six Paths Pain, he doesn't want to rely on Shiyu for the facts. What if a powerful enemy visits when the latter no longer Konoha? Therefore, he wants to fight Pen on his own strength. Because he wants to become Hokage's man, it is naturally impossible to hide behind Shiyu all the time, as he cannot be recognized by others. Although he knew that Shiyu had no intention of being in the position of Hokage, he had to have the corresponding strength if he wanted to sit in the position of Hokage. External forces can never deter others, nor can they convince others. Since that Pen came against me, let me fight him. As soon as Naruto said this, Tsunade was the first to speak. No, his goal is you. How can he expose you directly? This is too risky. Yes, this is not appropriate. Jiraiya agreed, and then said, now I probably know the secret of Six Paths Pain. If I fight with him, even if I can't beat him, I won't want to be as embarrassed as the last time. Furthermore, in Konoha's battle, this is our home court. With Tsunade and others cooperating with me, we may not be defeated. Since Jiraiya is not yet what Shiyu's strength is now, there is no idea of letting Shiyu fight. There is no doubt that he wants to do his best to fight back. Advertisement. For flowers. But at this moment, Kakashi spoke. Master Jiraiya, I think you seem to overlook someone. So who? A person who might be able to fight the 6 paths pain you call it. As soon as Kakashi said this, Jiraiya was shocked. Because no one knows the strength of pain better than him, even if he now knows the weakness of the latter, he is not sure of victory. Could it be that Konoha has a stronger presence than him? If anything, Orochimaru wouldn't let Orochimaru be so presumptuous in the first place. But the problem is that he didn't seem to have heard of Konoha any powerful people appearing in the past few years, or unknown old guys returning in the dark. It's no wonder that Jiraiya couldn't think of one at a time, because even Tsunade didn't target Takiwa. The reason why Kakashi would say this is because he had personally seen Takiwa when he was in the battle between Hidan and Kakuzu. The so-called Chen Dun was only second, but that Fen Dun really scared him. That's the blood succession seal. That is stronger than the blood succession boundary and the blood succession elimination. This kind of heaven-defying ninjutsu came from Toki's hand, and it has to be doubted what heaven-defying is in Toki's strength today. If only because of this, the key is that Shi-Yu also signed the summoning blood contract with the 3 holy places in the summoning beast world, and personally created a sage mode that is most suitable for human cultivation. With such an achievement, its current strength is absolutely terrifying. Big. Chapter 580 Blood Succession Banned. What a genius. Jiraiya paid very little attention to Shi-Yu because of his long-time external adjustments. It is excusable not to think of him in the first time. However, Tsunade, who had been sitting in Konoha, heard Kakashi's words, and immediately knew who was in the former's words. The next moment, whether it was Tsunade, Naruto, or Kakashi and others, they all focused on Takiwa. Jiraiya is not stupid, he noticed the abnormality in a moment. Kakashi, did you mean the beginning of you? Kakashi nodded, and then said, presumably you also know that the 797 Dao Shiyu had already awakened Mangekyo Sharingan more than 2 years ago, but if it is only based on this, naturally there is still something lacking. Just not long ago, Shi-Yu continued to be eliminated and banned in succession. What? Shi-Yu is the master and he is eliminated. Jiraiya was a little uncomfortable in shock. Obviously he didn't expect that Toki was already a master with such a powerful method at a young age. He is over half 100 years old and has a wealth of experience. In addition, he has been around the world for more than 2 decades, and his understanding of blood succession is naturally far better than others. According to his understanding, in today's ninja world, apart from Iwagakure's 3rd Tsuchikage Onogi, there is no master who has eliminated this powerful ninjutsu. You know, Onogi mastered this ninjutsu only after 2nd Tsuchikage's knowledge. But what about Shiyu? If nothing else, he definitely figured it out on his own. Because there is no such person in Konoha, not to mention that the master's blood succession is eliminated, even the blood succession boundary are few and pitiful. Advertisement and most of them are inherited by innate blood, rather than acquired by their own talents. After some consternation, Jiraiya suddenly realized one thing, that is, there are 4 words in it. Blood succession banned. He is very unfamiliar with this title. Even though he has traveled around the world and visited countless ninja villages, he is still unheard of. However, this is also reasonable, because this name was given by Toki himself, and no one has been able to integrate the 4 chakra attributes since the creation of the ninja world. Although Sage of 6 Paths and others can do it, they did not create a corresponding technique. With doubts in his heart, Jiraiya also asked directly. I know that the blood succession is eliminated, but what is the matter of the blood succession ban? Although Jiraiya couldn't figure it out for a while, he could also think that this must be a blood succession technique. Moreover, it is very likely to be a means that is not weaker than blood succession elimination. Jiraiya's voice fell, and Tsunade took it directly. You don't know that this blood succession ban was created by Shi-Yu himself, and it is a means of transcending the integration of the 3 attributes of blood succession elimination. It is a ninjutsu combining the 4 attributes of chakra. While talking, Tsunade's eyes when looking at Shi-Yu were also full of deep admiration. Because he was shocked when he learned about this at first. A little guy who has officially become a ninja for only 3 years can actually do this, and he created a ninjutsu that surpasses the elimination of blood. Advertisement. Even Senju Hashirama, who is revered as the god of ninja, Sarutobi Hiruzen of ninjutsu professor, Orochimaru of ninjutsu scientist, etc. cannot do such a thing. But now it was done by Shiyu, who was only 16 years old. This shows how the latter's talent in Nindo Road is heaven-defying. As predicted, even with Jiraiya's arrogance, it is extremely moved at this moment. Originally, he thought this was just a ninjutsu title that could be comparable to the elimination of blood succession, but he never thought that he still underestimated Shiyu's enchanting level. Combining the 4 attributes of chakra, how heaven-defying it is. Anyway, he had never heard of it in the entire history of shinobi. 3rd Tsuchikage's blood following the elimination of dust and dust, although he has not personally learned, but its reputation has already resounded through the 5 major countries, making all the strong jealous. And now? Shi-Yu actually created a kind of blood succession ban that is stronger than blood succession elimination. This is undoubtedly surpassing the powerful former sages. This move can be described as shocking the past and the present. At this moment, he finally understood why Kakashi and others thought that the latter could have the capital to fight Pen head-on. Jiraiya knows the physique of Time Feathers, and now that the master has such a powerful ninjutsu 3.3, he definitely has this qualification. At this moment, Jiraiya looked at Shiyu's eyes. Besides admiration, it was more of a kind of hope. In his opinion, Shiyu was likely to be the son of destiny, predicted by Toad Sage to change the pattern of ninja. Just when Jiraiya had such an idea, the sound of Naruto's voice made the idea in his heart firmer. Pervy Sage, you may still know everything. Shiyu not only created the blood succession ban, but also developed a sage mode suitable for our human cultivation. Chapter 581 The Crevices in the Holy Land, The Real Evildoer. Shiyu not only created the blood succession ban, but also developed a sage mode suitable for our human cultivation. When Naruto said this, Jiraiya was completely dumbfounded. Kakashi said that Master Shiyu's elimination and ban were enough heaven-defying. He didn't expect the latter to be far more pervert than he thought. Even the sage mode technique can be developed. Others don't know how pervert sage mode is and how difficult it is to create, but Jiraiya knows it well. If these words were made known to the people in the three holy places, they would definitely be shocked. Their holy land does not know how many years it took to develop this heaven-defying magic, but Shiyu. It was just a 16-year-old boy, and he created a new one by himself. This is definitely an epic shocking event. To know this kind of thing, even the legendary originator of Ninja World, Sage of Six Paths, can't do it, because the latter's celestial arts were learned in Mount Myoboku. Shiyu, what you said is true. Between the words, Jiraiya fixed his gaze on Shiyu, obviously wanting to listen to the latter's personal answer. Not only him, even Tsunade was surprised. Also, as one of the three holy sites, the contractor of the Wet Bone Forest, she naturally knows about sage mode. But it's a pity that she doesn't have the talent of her grandfather Senju Hashirama, so she can't practice this fairy technique. As for Shizune and others, although I don't know what this sage mode is. But seeing the emotion of Jiraiya and Tsunade so excited is enough to judge the heaven-defying and extraordinary of this technique. Seeing the gazes from Jiraiya and everyone, Shiyu nodded directly. Advertisement, I've been to Ryuchi Cave before, and I had some exchanges with the Katsuyu Immortals, and found that the sage mode of the Holy Land is not the most suitable for human cultivation. So, I just studied it myself. Shiyu's words were calm, but if Jiraiya and others heard it, it was as shocked as a shock. If you find it is not suitable, just create one yourself. Can this kind of thing be done by ordinary people? Obviously not. In their opinion, it is estimated that only pervert, Toki, could say so casually, as if to say something insignificant. For this reason, Tsunade and Shizune and other women couldn't help but flip the Byakugan. After some consternation, Jiraiya suddenly realized one thing that shocked him from Shiyu's words, and that was the three words, Ryuchi Cave. What did you just say? Have you been to Ryuchi Cave? At first everyone hadn't noticed, but when Jiraiya said this, everyone looked at each other. Kakashi and Naruto are better because they are not very clear about the relationship among the three holy places. But Jiraiya and Tsunade know a little bit. Wet Bone Forest and Mount Myoboku are okay. Their two families have always been in harmony, but these two are not so friendly with Ryuchi Cave. Although no war broke out, it is always indispensable to fight in the dark. Jiraiya was finally confident enough to believe that Shiyu could fight Pen head-on, and even defeated it. Advertisement, I saw the White Snake Fairy and gave them Sage Mode to practice again, and their strongest summoning beast was tamed. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. It seems that anything can happen to Shiyu. The gods of Ryuchi Cave are equivalent to the two great immortals of Mount Myoboku and Shima. Can this move Jiraiya and others? Rinnegan, it's really pervert. Well, I've been there once. It's like the battle on Duan Book Street. When Toad went I met Wan Snake, the two of them were fighting each other when they came up. That's why. Especially the summoning beast they sign with humans is the most direct manifestation, and when they meet, they're full of gunpowder. At this moment, Jiraiya and others looked at Shiyu's gaze no longer so surprised. Such achievements are hard to not admire, especially when he bet to win a Shinki. The impact is undoubtedly the strongest 800. They showed this look not because Shiyu's actions were not heaven-defying enough, but because they were too heaven-defying, causing them to be a little numb. Shiyu knew that everyone was very curious about everything he had in Ryuchi Cave, so he took the initiative to say everything briefly. At the same time, the summoning blood contract was signed with the three holy places. This is definitely the only one in history and the only one in history. But if you compare it with Shiyu like this, it seems like that. Chapter 582 The second pair, Rinnegan, is here. After the atmosphere in the room fell silent for a while, Jiraiya spoke again. Shiyu, are you sure to fight Pen? Although knowing that Shiyu is extraordinary, Jiraiya obviously wants to make the final confirmation and ask him personally. The contrast in the eyes of others is imaginary, and only the person concerned is qualified to make the most correct judgment. After all, they only know the tip of the iceberg for the power of Rinnegan. However, Shiyu's answer was to shock everyone. Pervy Sage, don't worry. With 6 paths pain, I have absolute certainty. Really? At this moment, not only Jiraiya exclaimed, but also Naruto and Kakashi. They knew Shiyu wanted to, but they didn't expect the latter to be so confident. If they hadn't understood Shiyu's behavior, they would definitely think it was Shiyu's arrogant and boundless conceit. Rinnegan, that is one of the 3 highest pupil arts. To be precise, it is the first. No one knows what power it has. Even if Jiraiya has collected some information about Rinnegan, he is still not sure that he can defeat the opponent. It is also because of this that he will make the decision to unite all the forces in the village to fight against it. He doesn't want Konoha to follow in the footsteps of old range shinobi Miura. Except for Naruto, I saw that the other eyes were more or less suspicious. Advertisement Shiyu knew that he had to show some strength enough to convince everyone. This is the end of my thought. Shiyu didn't talk nonsense, he saw that his pupils suddenly changed at this moment, and then by the way, they turned into blue patterns. Immediately afterwards, in Jiraiya's stunned eyes, a word was also slowly spit out from Shiyu's mouth. Rinnegan, I have it too. When Shiyu said this, everyone was dumbfounded. Obviously, they all noticed the change in Shiyu's eyes at the moment. Among them, the most shocking is Jiraiya, because besides Toki, he is the only one who has seen the real, Rinnegan, appearance here. As for the others, they are basically just heard. Shiyu's, Rinnegan, was not born by cultivating the cells of Zuoming and Hashirama. That method was too slow. To put it bluntly, it takes time to accumulate. The reason why he can have Rinnegan is entirely because of the lottery. He unlocked the 6th reward a few days ago and won Rinnegan in 6 lotteries. However, there is no Guyu. Obviously, now he has not merged Rinnegan and Sharingan together. Despite this, he still does things that ordinary people can't do. That is, you can still switch the shape of your own eyes at will. You must know that even the first sage of 6 paths that opened Rinnegan on the earth could not do this. Advertisement, but Shiyu did it. This shows that Shiyu's strength has surpassed the latter. And Shiyu himself naturally knows that this Rinnegan is far from the limit of evolution, it has an end to be found. That is reincarnation Sharingan. Only when 9 Tomo appeared on the ripples of Rinnegan, it was truly complete. This is what Shiyu cares about, however. At this moment, there was silence in the field. Because this result was beyond everyone's expectation, even Naruto, who had always jumped off and was not very bright in his head, was silent for a while. Because they have never seen Rinnegan before, everyone at this moment explained that they were staring at Shiyu, as if they wanted to see the legendary supreme pupil in the eyes of 6 paths transparently. Money. Even Jiraiya, who has met Rinnegan, is no exception. However, he was more focused on confirming whether the scene in front of him was an illusion created by Takiwa's illusion. After all, this is Rinnegan. History has gone round for so many years, eyes that have never appeared before. The appearance of one pair was enough to shock the world, but now there are 2 pairs of rules directly. And the owner of this pair stood in front of them, and they were very familiar people. Can this not make them stunned? Chapter 583, the beginning of the Battle of Gods, Wonderful Wood Reincarnation? When Shiyu showed Sharingan, everyone was shocked. It has always been thought that Shiyu's ancestors might have some connection with the Uchiha clan, but now it seems that this may not be the case. Because now Shiyu is not only the Itachi open black lens bracket Sharingan close black lens bracket, but also the more mysterious open black lens bracket Rinnegan close black lens bracket. 2 pairs of eyes make everyone like this. If they knew that Shi Julian, Byakugan, had all, it would be crazy. A master has 3 supreme pupil skills, which is undoubtedly subversive. It was also at this moment that everyone thought that Shiyu was really likely to be related to the legendary Sage of 6 Paths. Otherwise, how could his talent Wu be so enchanting? Secondly, incredible things always appeared on him, and now even Rinnegan has appeared. Seeing everyone looking at him as if looking at a monster, Shiyu coughed lightly and then explained. Ahem. You don't want 800 to look at me like this. Actually, I don't know what's going on. This situation is the same as when I awakened Sharingan, it appeared very suddenly. Although Shiyu was serious nonsense, none of them had doubts. Because they don't know how Rinnegan was born. After everyone had just recovered from the shock, Shiyu's voice also rang again. Naruto. I will use Rinnegan to play against you these days, let me feel it myself, and prepare for the battle in the near future. Hearing Shiyu's words, everyone was startled. Advertisement. They are all smart people, so they naturally understood what Shiyu said. Shiyu, are you CGDD, wanting Naruto? Jiraiya said hesitantly. Yes, I want Naruto to take the lead, Shiyu responded, and then explained. Since there can be enemies like Pain now, the same enemies and even stronger opponents may appear in the future. So Konoha needs more power. Even if I cannot rush back in time because of other things in the future, Konoha has enough strength to resist such enemies. As the saying goes, it is better to teach people how to fish than to teach people how to fish. Hearing Shiyu's words that made sense, everyone was also startled. Obviously, they didn't expect Shiyu to be so insightful when he was young. Such a foresight, even some older people can't match it. However, they would never think that Shiyu said this because he didn't want to waste time on these things. For him, this is obviously meaningless. He didn't want to be a Hokage, so he didn't have the slightest interest in the so-called hero. If it is not necessary, he will hardly intervene. That's why he wants to cultivate young brothers like Naruto and Sasuke, one inside and the other outside. In this way, he doesn't have to do everything by himself. As if aware of everyone's concerns, Shiyu spoke again. Advertisement, Shiyu was right. After all, relying on external forces is not a long-term solution. As long as Naruto is strong enough, no matter where you are, you don't have to worry about your safety. Just like Senju Hashirama. Moreover, I want to be a Hokage man, so naturally I want to use the corresponding strength to convince everyone. At this time, everyone said a word to me, but their meanings are almost the same, basically the same as Kakashi. Hearing this, Naruto, as the party concerned, was also the first to express his opinion. That is, Mount Myoboku. Also, I have another purpose for doing this. When Shiyu said this, everyone nodded. As long as he is strong enough, who would dare to beat Konoha? For this, Jiraiya directly suggested a best place. Don't worry, I will always pay attention to this battle and will not put Naruto in a dangerous situation. In order for Naruto to improve the Sage mode, in a short time, Toki hopes to find a place where natural power is extremely strong. In response, Kakashi also spoke up. As long as Naruto's own strength is improved, even if he is Jinchuriki, who would dare guide to covet the tail beast in him? Chapter 584 arrived in the Holy Land. Sumina mustered. After making a decision, Shiyu did not hesitate anymore, ready to go directly to Mount Myoboku to fight for the best practice environment for Naruto these days. A total of 3 people went on this trip, namely Jiraiya, Naruto and Shiyu. Although Kakashi and Yamato have also practiced Sage mode, they are not yet fully mastered. Furthermore, they still have to stay in Konoha to help in this situation. Of course, the most important reason is that neither of them signed a summoning blood contract with Mount Myoboku. So, they can't go, because Shiyu did not go there on foot, but went to Mount Myoboku through the reverse summoning technique. This is the most time-saving way, otherwise it will take at least 1 to a month to hike. Moreover, if there is no guidance from relevant people, there is no such place as Mount Myoboku. Immediately afterwards, Jiraiya summoned a contact toad and stayed in Konoha, and then he ordered Shenzuo Shenren to start preparing for reverse summoning technique. After everything is ready, with a swelling sound, as a puff of white smoke passed by, Shiyu, Naruto and Jiraiya disappeared under the eyes of Tsunade and others. When Shiyu and the 3 reappeared, they were already in a whole new world. This is a completely unfamiliar world for Naruto, and Shiyu's understanding of this place is only the tip of the iceberg. He only had some understanding of Mount Myoboku while watching the animation. As for the whole picture, he didn't know it. Among the 3 of them, only Jiraiya is quite familiar with this place. Naruto also let out an exclamation after observing the surroundings. Wow, this is Mount Myoboku. The world in front of them is very different from the world they live in, because the plants here are obviously much larger than the outside world. Secondly, the environment here is extremely extraordinary. The greenery is dripping, the clouds steaming in the mountains, the lake is shimmering, the mist is swirling, and the xenon hydrogen is hovering. Looking at it as a whole, it looks like a fairyland. Even if Shiyu knew a little in advance, at this moment, after seeing this scene, he let out a surprise. Seeing it with my own eyes and watching it in the animation is completely different. Advertisement Naruto may not have noticed, but Shiyu can clearly sense the extremely rich natural energy here. Obviously because of this situation, the vegetation here is unusually strong and lush, far exceeding the outside world. At this moment, a voice sounded slowly, Shiyu, Naruto. Hearing this, Shiyu and Naruto looked at each other, and what caught their eyes was a toad whose skin color was too similar to that of Toad. However, his size is much smaller than the latter. Obviously, this is a juvenile toad. As for the latter's identity, both Toki and Naruto know that he is Toad Fumata's son, Toad Cat. After recovering, Naruto immediately spoke again. It's you, Toad Cat. Well, because I summoned you. Toad Cat looked at Shiyu in the words. His eyes were a little strange, because he remembered that the latter had summoned his family. At this time, besides Toji, there was another person. He was the Shenzuo immortal that Shiyu had just met not long ago. Obviously, he was instructing Toad Cat to complete the reverse summoning technique just now. In his opinion, Toji is the best seedling of this junior generation today, and he will undoubtedly succeed Toad Wenda in the future. Therefore, he naturally wants to cultivate the latter. I know you are pressed for time, but you should fill your stomach before practicing. Come with me. When the voice fell, Shenzuo Xianren took the lead. Upon seeing this, Shiyu, Jiraiya, and Naruto were also no nonsense, and they followed Shenzuo Shenren closely. After a while, they came to a small house, where Shensaku, Shima and others lived. Seeing Immortal Shenzuo brought Shiyu and 3 people, Immortal Jima immediately opened his mouth to welcome. Yo, you are here, I have prepared all the meals for you. Try to eat as much as possible. It's all your own, don't be my guests. Hearing this, Naruto was the first to rush over. As for Shiyu and Jiraiya, they stood still and didn't move. For Shima Immortal Jiraiya's rice, Jiraiya had obviously tasted it a long time ago. Advertisement, for flowers, although Shiyu didn't have it, he had also seen it from animation. The so-called sumptuous meals of the Immortal Jima are not basically things like small bugs, these are the favorite foods of toads. But for Shiyu and others who are humans, it is undoubtedly difficult to swallow. Although this thing is indeed edible, it is hard to raise any appetite at all. It is also because of this. When Naruto, who was the first to rush over, saw the contents of the large bowls, a small excited face suddenly borrowed like a frosted eggplant, and the bright eyes were gone in an instant. Look. Seeing this, Shiyu said, the Immortal Jima, oh. I also brought a lot of food, let's eat together. When the voice fell, Shiyu directly reached out and grabbed a lot of ready-made food from a different space. Obviously, Shiyu had anticipated this a long time ago, so he prepared food in advance. Shiyu doesn't have this hobby of eating bugs, but he was too embarrassed to directly reject the kindness of immortal Jima, so he came up with a compromise. Then take out the food and eat it together, and let him just have his own food. Seeing Shiyu take out a basket of food, Naruto and Jiraiya's eyes were straight. They didn't expect Shiyu to carry so much food with them. The space just now was when Shiyu developed a ninjutsu called Sumi Naju technique, which was a time-space ninjutsu. This ninjutsu is equivalent to Toki's personal storage space. Naruto wasn't surprised at this, because he knew it a long time ago. But this scene was like a miracle in the eyes of Jiraiya and Shenzuo Shenren, and the eyes of Shiyu became more and more amazed. Jiraiya is okay. After all, I knew some of the awesome ninjutsu developed by Toki during this period of time. But Shenzo Immortal, Jima Immortal and Toji can't calm down. They knew Shiyu was very powerful, but they didn't expect the latter to develop a space-time ninjutsu to store things. It's incredible to think about it. Chapter 585 Holy Land Fairy Magic and Self-Made Fairy Magic. Shenzuo Shenren and others had a new understanding of Shiyu's abilities after some consternation. Originally, they were skeptical when they heard Jiraiya say that Shiyu had the strength to fight Six Paths Pen, but now they believe it a little. The strength of a person who can easily break through a different space is undoubtedly an extremely terrifying level. Because of this, Jiraiya became more confident in Shiyu. After a meal, Shiyu is also no nonsense. Under the leadership of Shenzuo Shenren, they came to Mount Myoboku where the natural energy is most abundant. After feeling a little bit, 803, Shiyu also spoke up. Naruto, let's start. As soon as Shiyu said this, Naruto stopped talking nonsense, found a boulder and sat directly on the ground, and began to concentrate on cultivation. Seeing this scene, both Shenzuo Shenren and Jima Shenren were a little confused. They knew that Jiraiya brought Toki and Naruto here to learn Sage Mode. Originally, they thought it was Jiraiya to teach Toki and Naruto. But the situation in front of them was obviously beyond their expectations. Naruto did come to learn Sage Mode, but it seemed that they didn't learn the magic of Mount Myoboku. But this is not the point. The point is that it was Shiyu who taught Naruto immortality, a young man who thought they needed them to teach immortality. This result was completely beyond their expectations. But when I thought about it, they were relieved. Advertisement. Since Jiraiya said that Shiyu has the ability to compete with Six Paths Pen, it is normal that his master has a Sage Mode. Because in today's world, besides their Mount Myoboku master has Sage Mode, Ryuchi Cave and Wet Bone Forest also have it. Moreover, they saw the obsolete feather use natural energy not long ago. Just a few days ago, Jiraiya and Pain broke an arm during the battle at Rain Shinobi Village. Takiwa used this energy to instantly heal Jiraiya. At that time, they realized that Shiyu might have insight into this power, but what they didn't expect was that the latter not only had insight into this power, but also mastered a kind of Sage Mode. Looking at the situation, it is clear that this Sage Mode does not belong to the Mount Myoboku. For this reason, they are very curious about Shiba's master Sage Mode. What they guess at this moment is that the Sage Mode that Shiyu handed over to Naruto at this moment is likely to come from the Wet Bone Forest. After all, there are the contractors of the Wet Bone Forest in today's Konoha. Shiyu's medical ninjutsu originated from Tsunade, which may have allowed her to sign a summoning blood contract with the Katsuyu fairy. In this way, Tokiba's Sage Mode of the Wet Bone Forest is justified. But also because of this, Immortal Rang Shenzo and Immortal Jima were very surprised. Because as time goes by, Naruto has no trace of Katsuyu's words in the training process. Even when I finally opened my eyes, there was no change. This scene made the two of them extremely surprised. As far as they know, once humans have cultivated the Sage Mode of their three Holy Land Masters, there should be some corresponding characteristics. Jiraiya's next sentence stunned everyone. Advertisement. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. No, you are all wrong. Because the Sage Mode displayed by Naruto at this moment is different from the one displayed by the contractors of their three holy sites. Even in a perfect state, the pupils present the characteristics of the corresponding holy place. The Sage Mode that Shiyu taught does not belong to any holy land. This Sage Mode was created by him. This result could not help but secretly said in their hearts, could it be that the Sage Mode of the Wet Bone Forest has achieved a great breakthrough in this respect, allowing humans to avoid defects with similar characteristics when practicing? In addition, they have a crazier idea. Shenzuo Shenren couldn't help looking at Jiraiya who was aside, and asked in a low voice. Although this idea is crazy, it has a basis. But the current Naruto is still a human pupil, but the color has changed from black to gold, nothing more. However, not only Shenzuo Xianren thinks this way, but even Jima Xianren, and Toad Wentai who is watching from a distance hold the same idea. Little Jiraiya, do you know that the Sage Mode Shiyu taught is a Wet Bone Forest? That is, the Sage Mode taught by Shiyu in front of me may not belong to any of their three holy sites. It is very likely that the Sage Mode of the Wet Bone Forest has been improved by 3.3 in these long years, so that it can perfectly supply human cultivation. Although Shenzuo Shenren had many ideas in his mind, after a reasonable analysis, he felt that the Wet Bone Forest had the greatest possibility. This is the end of my thought. Chapter 586 Shocking Immortals, Battle of Clouds and Thunder. This Sage Mode was created by him. Hearing Jiraiya's words, Shenzuo Xianren and Jima Xianren were completely stunned, and both of them immediately exclaimed. What? There is a deep and unbelievable tone in their tone, and obviously this fact makes it difficult for them to accept. Create your own sage mode. What kind of concept is this? No one knows better than them as the three holy places. Take their Mount Myoboku as an example. Their sage mode was developed after countless years of research. Until now, it has been passed down for many years, and after 26 generations of improvements and innovations, today's sage mode is available. The same goes for the other two holy places, but what about Shiyu? He is only 16 years old now. How much time he can spend on the research of immortality? 10 years will be the best. 10 years seems to be long, but for the creation of sage mode, it is a dime in 9 years, which is not worth mentioning. This is why Shen Zuo Shenren and others are so shocked at this moment. That's why. There was a trace of doubt in their eyes at the moment, and obviously, they didn't want to believe this fact. But in fact, the sage mode that Takiwa taught Naruto does not belong to any of their three holy sites. Advertisement at this point, Immortal Jima couldn't help asking. Little Jiraiya, what you said is true. As soon as Immortal Jima said this, Immortal Shen Zuo and Toad Wentai in the distance all pricked their ears. Obviously, they are also very concerned about this answer. Seeing everyone cast their eyes on him, Jiraiya nodded directly and then said, I didn't believe it at first, but then I really had to believe it. Jiraiya said everything he knew to a group of toads such as Shen Zuo Shenren, what, Mangekyo Sharingan, Blood Succession Ban, Rinnegan, Tail Beast Chakra, Ah. After everyone learned of Shiyu's current master's power, they were also speechless for a while. These abilities are earth-shattering, but now they are concentrated on one person. Can this not make their position shock? And just when Shen Zuo Shenren was shocked, there was about to be a big battle in Yunlei Gorge, thousands of miles away from here. Not for anything else, just because Sasuke and others met Eight Tails Killer Bee. Looking at Uncle Rap in front of him, Sasuke's tone was cold and sharp. Are you Eight Tails Jinchuriki? The Killer Bee who heard the words was taken aback for a moment, and then continued his rap with a face. Should you say Master Eight Tails? Or Master Jinchuriki? Advertisement, I want to catch you. Sasuke replied that there was no emotion, as if nothing could make her look fluctuate. Immediately afterwards, Sasuke directly gave orders to the three of Suigetsu. I'll catch this 803 guy. Shuei, go to the right. Jungo, go to the left. Fragrant Phosphorus, stand behind me. Seeing Sasuke ignoring him, and still looking confident, Killer Bee was obviously a little unhappy. Although you are still talking, I still want your advice. A asterisk hole. A asterisk hole. Hearing Killer Bee's words, the impatient Shui Yu couldn't help it instantly. With a bang, his figure disappeared from the place. When he reappeared, he was already close to Killer Bee. Without any bells and whistles, it was just a slash. Chapter 587 Lost Both, the grass pheasant appeared. Boom. As a loud noise came out, the ground where Killer Bee was located shattered directly, and smoke swept through, flooding the scene inside. Upon seeing this, Shigego on the left shouted, Shuei, didn't the people at Shao say that Jinchuriki can't be killed? Hearing the words, the fragrant Phosphorus behind said, don't worry, you can still sense his chakra. This is the reason that Shiyu wants to temporarily send Phosphorus back. With Phosphorus in this team, Sasuke and his party are relatively safer. Even if some enemies lie in ambush in the dark, it is difficult to escape her perception. This tactic of using words to stimulate the enemy is really good, especially the kind of people who have only water in their heads. Undoubtedly, aromatic phosphorus is burying Tai Shui Yu. At the same time, at this moment, the smoke and dust of the shattered land also dissipated with the wind, and the scene inside immediately caught everyone's eyes. Everything is as Aroma said, Killer Bee is not a big deal. Moreover, he directly clamped Shuei's beheading knife with both hands, in a posture comparable to the legendary, hands-on-handed. In fact, facing the four of Sasuke, Killer Bee still didn't have the slightest fear on his face at this time, and rap again. The only one who can rush to this uncle is myself. Go away. B asterisk 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 D, I'm going to knock you down with my fist. B asterisk 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 D. Advertisement Killer Bee's voice fell, and his hands were slammed, and the beheaded sword broke free from Shuei's hands. Seeing Shuei lost his weapon, Shigego hurriedly spoke. Shuei, get out of the way. After a reminder, Shigego didn't have any unnecessary nonsense, and the left hand that was directly stepped on changed instantly. Then his body rushed out, rushing towards Killer Bee. Faced with this powerful attack of Shigego, Killer Bee didn't pay any attention to it, and withdrew the beheading knife at random to suppress Shigego. After doing this, he started his rap again. Moreover, at this moment, it is accompanied by body movements. Leave extra energy, and the charm shines. Eight Tails is a lonely Killer Bee, then it is the uncle. Drink. After the battle begins, you will be ashamed. Before you get killed, get out. Although knowing that this is likely to be Killer Bee's behavior, the faces of Sasuke and others were surprised at this moment. If Killer Bee blocked and removed the decapitation knife in the hands of nobody Shuei before, part of the reason was because of Shuei's underestimation of the enemy, but the frontal strong attack that had just been crushed was easily dismantled again. It is enough to explain the problem. That is, the Eight Tails Jinchuriki in front of me is not easy. You know, even Sasuke's face-to-face hit by Shigeo without evasiveness can never be so easy. But this is not the key. The key is that Killer Bee actually suppressed Shigeo easily, which is a bit pervert. Because of this, Aromatic Phosphorus and Shuei exclaimed one after another. Advertisement, what is this guy? Jungo was given by such a weird person. He actually used my new beheading knife so smoothly, this guy. Seeing that Suizuki and Shigogo were both at a loss in Killer Bee's hands, Sasuke finally spoke again. Let me come. Sasuke, whose voice fell, stepped out and approached Killer Bee. Seeing that Sasuke and others didn't mean to retreat, Killer Bee was also a little upset. Originally, he wanted the thunder to frighten Sasuke and the four of them to scare him away, because he didn't want to waste time on boring battles. It's taking my time. Who are you? Why are you here to catch me? Regarding Killer Bee's doubts, Sasuke avoided answering, but said strongly, the money is good. You don't need to know this, it's too much to send us to catch this weird guy, Shuei complained. Although the decapitation knife was taken, it did not affect Shuei's self-confidence. Because he is strong, not relying on any shinobi sword, but the secret technique of their ghost lamp clan. As for the power of that tail beast, I want to confirm it quickly. Sasuke's voice fell, and a sword appeared in his hand. That is his weapon, the pheasant sword. Chapter 588,000 Bird Sword Skill, 7 swords appeared. Standing the pheasant sword in front of him, Sasuke spoke lightly. We are the ones who use Shao, this must be remembered. There was no evasiveness between Sasuke's words, because they had conspired with Shiyu a long time ago. The reason for capturing 8 tails now is just to deal with it. If it weren't for system missions, Shiyu would not need to develop Sasuke, a hidden line lurking outside. Open black lens bracket Dawn close black lens bracket, Killer Bee murmured, apparently hearing about this organization. Because they are catching tail beasts everywhere, Cloud Shinobi Village, one of the 5 major countries, naturally knows a little bit about it. Hearing that, Shuei all responded, humph, certainly. It's worthy of Shiyu's team. This temperament is somewhat similar, and this temperament is somewhat similar, Xianglin secretly said. I'm so fed up, Sasuke. Let this guy who loves jokes shut up 807, Shui Yu shouted with a fist. That's what I planned. After listening to Sasuke and others, Killer Bee still responded calmly. This is not a cold joke, this is a popular bet. What, advertisement? Yeah, at this moment, Xianglin's violent temper came up. It's really unpleasant, it's so ugly, this guy is just a rap. As soon as Xianglin's voice fell, Sasuke moved, and the shattering technique was activated, and his figure disappeared in the same place in an instant. When he appeared again, he was already in front of Killer Bee. There is no extra action, just a sword cut. Looking at that posture, it was like a blow to the sky, faintly like the power of thunder and lightning in the carrier, as if a sword split the latter in half. Undoubtedly, this is the reason why Sasuke became a Chidoryu. In his attacks, Chakra is faintly entrained with the thunder attribute, which makes the sharpness of his pheasant sword remote from other sharp blades. Upon seeing this, Killer Bee swung the beheading knife again. Kang! With the sound of a metal collision, the intersection of Sasuke's pheasant sword and Killer Bee's decapitating knife was a fiery light of friction. This shows that the strength of the two is strong. After a confrontation, the two did not stay, but directly fought together. Dang. 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 After more than 2 years of frantic hard work, Sasuke's sword skills have reached a quite astonishing level. Advertisement because this evolved from Orochimaru's sword skills for decades, after Sasuke learned it, and then, CGDD, mastered it, he turned all the good sword skills collected by Orochimaru into his own. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Therefore, the strength of the Killer Bee used is naturally limited. Seeing this scene, Sasuke and others were stunned. That's why. I am in a good mood, so I will play with you. Although there are certain similarities in the use of these two weapons, if you look at them carefully, they are completely different. After a short match, the decapitation knife in Killer Bee's hand was directly picked up by Sasuke and flew away. When the Xianglin people were speechless, Killer Bee also spoke. Obviously, he is going to show the real kendo. They have never seen such an opponent, and they still have the mood to write words in this situation. In the case of not competing with ninjutsu, the average person is really not his opponent. Because of this, his current level of kendo is quite high. Thank you for letting me come up with the best escort, thank you. The reason for this early success is not because Killer Bee's kendo is not as good as Sasuke, but because he used the heavy weapon, sword, instead of the light weapon, sword. Therefore, after the decapitation knife was picked up by Sasuke, Killer Bee didn't have the slightest anger for it. Instead, he took out his own notebook and began to record the temporary thoughts just now. Baby, yo, chapter 589 7 Swords Go Down Tianshan, Unbeatable. Yunlei Gorge. When Killer Bee raised his intention to fight, the 7 swords he was carrying were directly thrown into the air. Seeing this scene, the rear Shuei suddenly shouted. Sasuke, be careful. This guy is so good with knives, it can be seen that his kendo attainments have reached a level that is difficult to imagine. He is definitely not a simple ninja. This is the judgment that Shuei combined with the previous simple fight with Killer Bee. Although he is arrogant, he is not brainless. After Shuei's voice fell, the 7 sharp swords thrown into the air by Killer Bee had returned to him again. It's just that these locations are very weird, because they did not appear in his hands, but were sandwiched between the left and right elbows, neck, underarms, waist and knee joints. And the last one was even more exaggerated, it was bitten in the mouth. That's why. At this moment, Killer Bee's shape looks very weird. His appearance makes people wonder if he can walk normally. Not to mention that he can still fight in this state. Let you feel this uncle's course. Killer Bee snorted loudly, there was no extra nonsense, and directly launched a fierce attack on Sasuke. Call out. Killer Bee moved. At this moment, he was like a barbed wheel. He swung hundreds of swords at Sasuke in an instant. Taste. 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 This kind of weird attack saw the trio of Shanglin in the back stunned. Obviously they didn't expect Killer Bee to make such a fierce attack in this weird state. This scene is like 7 swords going down the Tianshan Mountains, which can cut the sky. However, Sasuke is naturally not weak. Advertisement. Relying on the advantage of Sharingan to avoid most of the attacks, coupled with the damn pheasant sword in his hand, it was naturally another part of the sword move at the moment. Dang. 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 But despite this, many sword marks still appeared on Sasuke's body. Even his handsome face is full of bloodline at the moment. This shows that Killer Bee's kendo attainments are so high. Clatter. After jumping for a distance, Sasuke, who had stabilized his figure, had a look of surprise on his face at the moment. Originally he thought that the current one was already very strong, and it shouldn't be difficult for him to capture a Jinchuriki. After all, this kind of thing can even be done by Deidara and others, and now he is confident that he has the strength to compete with these, and even defeat them. But now? He just fell into a disadvantage when he played with Killer Bee. Can this not make his heart turmoil again? However, soon he was relieved. After the incident of Itachi, his mind has been further grown, so his Shinsheng is far from comparable to that of ordinary peers. He knew that the Killer Bee in front of him was not an ordinary Jinchuriki, it was definitely a ninja with extraordinary strength. Because whether it was the previous fight with Shuei and Shigego, or the current fight with him, the latter seemed to be more than capable. And there was a sense of indifference on his face from beginning to end, as if the Sasuke 4 were not enough to pose a threat to him in his eyes. Or in other words, he has absolute confidence in his own strength. Otherwise, it is absolutely impossible for him to be so calm. For flowers. But the fact is indeed what Sasuke thought. This is Killer Bee's thinking at the moment. Advertisement. Since he used his own swordsmanship from just now to now, the power of 8 tails has not been used at all. Seeing that Sasuke suffered a loss in the first confrontation, Phosphorus in the back hurriedly asked. Sasuke, are you okay? It was not that he underestimated Sasuke, but that Killer Bee in front of him gave him the feeling that he was an extremely powerful ninja. Is the undefended Chidori flow? However, today's Chidori can change a lot in his hands, becoming his unique ninjutsu, Chidori Ryu. Oh, Sasuke rushed towards Killer Bee once again. Obviously there was some way to deal with it in his heart. After attaching the Chidori to the pheasant sword, he knew that Sasuke was Shiyu's teammate, and the latter didn't want the former to have trouble. Let him, who has always been confident, have a deep jealousy at this moment. Shiyu sent her back to this team for the purpose of helping Sasuke and giving some favorable guarantees. I saw that the seal was quickly formed in his hand, and then there were thousands of birds singing. Needless to say, Sasuke used Chidori. Now that she is Shiyu's woman, she naturally hopes that she can live up to Shiyu's trust and ensure the safety of his teammates. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. And Incense Phosphorus naturally also knows this, so I have some concerns at the moment. What kind of strange action is that? You can't see his sword skills at all. In Suigetsu's surprise, Sasuke came up with a countermeasure. Shuei murmured, wondering if Sasuke's move would have any effect. Chapter 590 Thunder and Lightning Showdown. No one can stop. When Sasuke used the Chidori Ryu to confront the enemy, the 3 of Shuei all thought that Sasuke would use this to regain the situation and even gain the upper hand. But the appearance of the next scene made them all look stunned. Because when Sasuke used his almost hard-to-defend thousand-bird sword skills, he was blocked by the strange rap man in front of him. Moreover, it is extremely easy. This, no way? He also uses the Thunder Attribute Chakra. Between Shuei, Shigego, and Shanglin all secretly, Killer Bee also heard a whisper. Dance. Dance like a butterfly, 8 tails, sting like a bee. The Killer Bees, August 27, offensive in the discourse became more and more fierce, and it was too strong to be better than Sasuke for a while. In other words, he was caught off guard, Russell. Sasuke was pushed back again, and his feet rubbed a ditch on the ground that could not be ignored. Not only that, this time is even more embarrassing than the first time. He didn't expect Killer Bee to also master the Thunder Attribute Chakra. Obviously, the same was true of the previous shock of the Shuei trio. Although Killer Bee is the ninja of Cloud Shinobi Village in Thunder Country, its name is not linked to the attributes of its own master. It's like Konoha belongs to the land of fire, but not all ninja masters have the Fire Attribute Chakra. The same is true for Iwagakure, the country of soil, Kirigakure, the country of water, and Sanagakure, the country of wind. Therefore, Sasuke and others naturally did not think that Killer Bee Master has the Thunder Attribute Chakra for the first time. The point is that Killer Bee is not at all weaker than Sasuke in terms of the Thunder Attribute Chakra attribute, which is something that no one has expected. Sasuke's ability to derive the Chakra Nature Transformation attack method of Chidori by Chidori is enough to show that he has reached a very high level of the master of the Thunder attribute chakra. But now? Advertisement: a strange rap uncle actually possesses such an ability. Even better, can this not make them shocked? If Killer Bee used the power of the tail beast, they would recognize it. But now the latter used his own power completely, but because of this, all of them were defeated. Then once the latter uses the power of the tail beast, to what extent will its strength skyrocket? Originally, they came to hunt 8 tails with confidence. Whether it was Sasuke or Shuei, they could take down 8 tails with their own power. The reason why they have this illusion is that apart from the fact that the Akatsuki organization can successfully take down the 7-tailed beasts, there is also partly because of Naruto. The latter, as 9 tails Jinchuriki, seems to be just as capable. So, they had a general guess in their subconscious mind. That is, 8 tails Jinchuriki shouldn't be much stronger. For this reason, the previous Sasuke Killer Bee said such confident words in front of him. But now it seems that they know that they are wrong. The strength of the Jinchuriki in front of them was beyond their imagination, and no one of them could be the enemy alone. Among them, Sasuke, the strongest in physical skills, fell short, and it was obvious that Suizuki and Shigego couldn't win in a head-on confrontation. As for Phosphorus, she is just an auxiliary ninja. At this moment, they didn't retreat immediately. In addition to their inner arrogance, there was another reason that they believed that they might be able to win Killer Bee by virtue of their master's powerful secret technique. After all, they are only at a disadvantage now. Moreover, it is only limited to physical skills. Once they use ninjutsu, or even a few people join hands, the result may change. Although Sasuke was shocked at the moment, Killer Bee naturally would not give him a chance to breathe. Since Sasuke was here to hunt him, he naturally had to prepare to be killed. Just use this sword to solve you. With a soft drink, Killer Bee finally started to hold the sword. He slashed with this sword, and the speed was as fast as ultimate, as if it had cut through the void, and the 4 wilds could vaguely hear the sound of sonic boom, which was the result of thunder and lightning tormenting the air. Advertisement taste. Because Killer Bee's movements were very smooth, and it was done in one go, Sasuke, who had just stabilized his figure at this time, had no time to block the shocking sword. To be honest, if Sasuke doesn't respond well at this moment, he is likely to fall in the next second. Seeing this scene, Shangfa in the back couldn't help shouting. Obviously not. The main reason is that Killer Bee's thunder attribute nature transformation is quite accomplished, which makes the sword in his hand unstoppable. It was also because he felt bad in advance that he blocked the fatal blow for Sasuke at this critical moment. Certainly, careful. Moreover, this gap continues to deepen. Thunder and lightning are still raging, but the cracks continue to deepen. But what surprised everyone in 3.3 at this time was that the decapitating sword, one of the 7 or 8 ninja swords, was cut into a gap by the short sword in Killer Bee's hand. The final result was that Korin and Shigogo were greatly relieved, because Sasuke did not appear to have imaginary blood splashes on the spot under this sword. However, in the next instant, Killer Bee's shocking sword had already fallen. Is this because the material of the decapitation sword is too bad? However, it was not Sasuke himself who blocked this sword, but Suizuki. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. As for the reason, it was because Killer Bee's sword was blocked. Chi. Just when Shuei saw that the situation was not good, she immediately drew the beheading knife stuck in the ground and rushed over. All of this is due to the thunder attribute chakra attached to the sword by Killer Bee at the moment. This attribute of chakra is too destructive. Chapter 591. The 5 elements mix yin and yang. The power of yang. Seeing the continuous sinking cracks on the decapitated broadsword, Shuei also muttered in her heart. Damn it, this guy's lightning style is so annoying. What Shuei is good at is water style, and what he fears most is lightning style, which is why he used to avoid Sasuke in Orochimaru base. At this time, Sasuke had several swords inserted into his body, and he couldn't move at all because of his ailing aura, and Shuei was also restricted from moving because he blocked Killer Bee. Therefore, only Shigeo can move now. No nonsense, Shigeo burst out the power of the seal again and rushed towards Killer Bee. And because of her own healing ability, Shanlin went to Sasuke in a hurry, and she needed to help the latter restore her combat effectiveness. Otherwise, there will be no suspense in this battle. There is no unnecessary nonsense. Shanlin directly stretched out his right hand, and even more meaningfully pulled up his sleeves. This is the method used to help restore Chuck 26. It's just that now her arms are as white as suet jade, with no traces of vertices, and the previous ones have long since disappeared and no tooth marks are visible. Obviously, it was Shi Yu who helped heal it. Looking at his snow-white, crystal-clear, flawless lotus arm, Shanlin thought of something, and immediately a huge yang attribute chakra gushed out of his arm and instilled it towards Sasuke. This is the healing ninjutsu that Shi Yu taught him. Although Shanlin had an amazing system, he would never use the huge chakra contained in his body at all. Only by making people bite, can she draw this incomparably strange energy from her body. However, she can't be blamed for this, because this special energy in her body is not just as simple as the yang attribute chakra. To be precise, this energy has exceeded the scope of the ordinary yang attribute chakra. Advertisement. According to Shi Yu's judgment, this is an energy close to the power of yang. Yang power, a power that transcends the yang attribute chakra. His recovery ability is countless times stronger than the latter. In the 4th Ninja Wars in Uchiha Madara, Naruto gave Kakashi a new eye with the power of the sun, and successfully survived the Might Guy who used the 8 inner gates. From this we can see what kind of vitality this power contains. Although the power of Shanglin is not the real power of Yang, it does possess some of its attributes. The reason for this is naturally due to its blood. The Uzumaki clan is another bloodline of the Sage of Six Paths, which was level with the Senju clan a long time ago. But because their clan is not good at fighting, as the years change and time goes by, the Vortex clan is slowly submerged. So that after the outbreak of the Third Ninja World War, the Uzumaki kingdom, where this clan was located, was completely overthrown. Under the covering of the nest, there are few eggs. This clan now has very few remaining clan members in this world, and there are only a handful of ninjas. Simply put, this power of aromatic phosphorus comes from Sage of Six Paths. This is also the reason why phosphorus itself cannot tap and control this power. If there is no way to understand the root of the power of Yang, it is absolutely impossible to master this power. And how can the power of the Yang be understood by ordinary people? Throughout the ninja world, it is very rare to be able to understand this kind of power. It can be said to be extremely rare. Because if you want to control this power, you have to control the power of blood succession snare. Only when the 5 elements are mixed with yin and yang can the power of understanding be realized, so that the purest power of Yang can be penetrated. Advertisement fragrant phosphorus has limited talents, so it is natural to do this. The reason why 827 Shiyu did this was that besides making the incense phosphorus stronger, his most important purpose was to prevent others from clenching their teeth to restore their state. You must know that Shiyu can awaken him through illusion, Mangekyo Sharingan, and it is definitely not difficult to help the power of Shang Phosphorus master. But she can't do it, doesn't mean Shiyu can't do it. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Because he knew the power of Shanglin, he was shocked at the moment that Shanglin could control this power. When Shiyu was alone with Shanglin, besides being gentle with her, he taught her how to master this power. This Yu's place in his heart, especially men. Therefore, when Yu told him that Itachi was not dead, he resolutely chose to believe it. In his opinion, all of this should have something to do with Shiyu. But soon he knew the answer. So after all, what is the source of the power of incense phosphorus is not detailed in the animation. However, even Shiyu was shocked when he learned that the incense phosphorus contained this power. When Shanglin injected this special chakra into Sasuke's body, his ginger state suddenly disappeared. In his eyes, Shiyu is omnipotent, but this is not the place to surprise. Chapter 592 Join forces to encircle and suppress Kagura's heart. Fragrant phosphorus, thanks to you. After regaining his vitality, Sasuke immediately thanked the fragrant phosphorus. Sasuke knew that if there was no phosphorus here today, he would definitely be defeated by underestimating Killer Bee for a while. Because the previous he has no power to fight again. He lost the curse of the sky, although his life would not be threatened, but at the same time he also lost a whole card. If he had tried his best from the beginning, he wouldn't have been injured by Killer Bee's 7 swords just now. It is for this reason that it is difficult for him to even show Mangekyo Sharingan after being so seriously injured. After regaining combat effectiveness, Sasuke's eyes on Killer Bee have completely changed. He knows that this Jinchuriki is not something he can rival. And he wasn't the only one who had this idea, and Shuei's words were the best proof at this moment. Sasuke, let's go 3 of us together. To be honest, I have to admit that this person is very strong. I don't want to hunt him anymore, we should go all out. Shuei's words are not unreasonable, and this is part of the reason why all 3 of them were defeated by Killer Bee. Because they are fighting against Killer Bee with the idea of hunting Killer Bee, it is inevitable that there will be a trace of scruples in the fight. But now that they know that Killer Bee is so powerful, they naturally want to do their best. Otherwise don't mention hunting, I'm afraid they will be here today. When Killer Bee saw that Sasuke had recovered, he finally showed a different look. This kid injected lightning-style technique into his body, causing me to deviate from the attack trajectory? Advertisement. This should be the reason why I didn't cause him a fatal blow just now. And that woman has a special chakra that can restore combat power instantly. B************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************* D. After a secret analysis, Killer Bee stopped talking nonsense, raised his fist, and continued fighting. When Shuei relied on the Ghost Lamp clan's hydration technique to fight with Killer Bee, he immediately wanted to transmit the sound of Sasuke. Sasuke, attack with me now. The reason Shuei dared to say this was not because he had the so-called immortality like Hidan, but because his hydration technique gave him such confidence. Hearing that, Sasuke naturally did not hesitate. His hands quickly formed seals, and as the thunder and lightning raged in his hands, he used the instant technique and went directly towards Killer Bee. Shit. Shit. 1,000 birds swept across the void, causing the air to be gasped with white mist. Although Killer Bee's strength is very strong, under the siege and containment of Suizuki and Shigego, there is no way to avoid Sasuke's attack after all. Accompanied by the neighing of thousands of birds, a painful cry came long. Oh ah! Seeing Killer Bee's move, Shigeo on the side didn't have any nonsense, and wanted to seize this opportunity to give the former a fatal blow. I saw that his arms were all cursed at the moment, and his arms were as big as those of a great ape, which made people daunting. After seeing Killer Bee being paralyzed by his own Chidori, Sasuke immediately moved away from the former with the same immobile Shuei. Obviously, they made a battle plan, as predicted. When Sasuke and the others had just evacuated Killer Bee, Shigego moved. Boom. Advertisement. He stepped on the ground with one foot, and the ground under his feet cracked like a spiderweb, but his figure suddenly rushed out. Changwu folded his hands in midair like a giant hammer, smashing directly at Killer Bee. If hit by this pair of fists, Killer Bee will definitely be seriously injured. Boom. As a loud noise came out, Shigeo's hammer made a close contact with the ground, causing the whole earth to tremble. And the ground under his feet collapsed directly and spread to a distance of tens of meters at a speed visible to the naked eye. The destruction is so shocking. After the billowing smoke dissipated, Shigeo's expression was stagnant because he didn't see Killer Bee in the pit under his feet. What about people? Where is that guy? Where is it? Shuei echoed, the money is good. Fragrant phosphorus. Sasuke exclaimed, seemingly meaningful. Xianglin nodded, I just understood what Sasuke meant. Then she closed her eyes and started the Kagura Hard Eye. With her powerful perception ability, she can be perceived as long as the latter is not too far away from chakra. At the same time, behind a huge boulder not far from Sasuke and the others, Killer Bee poked out his head cautiously. Although these people are not very strong, they are very difficult to deal with. Forget it, don't play with them. I have to go back to drink whiskey, oh yeah. Chapter 593 8th out of the sheath. Lay plow hot knife. I have to go back to drink whiskey, oh yeah. As soon as Killer Bee's voice fell, Xianglin's eyes suddenly locked in his direction. Then she shouted with a big finger. Where, upon hearing this, Killer Bee looked startled. He didn't expect that apart from being able to heal, Phosphorus was actually a super sensing ninja. It's not that he has never seen this type of ninja, but it is the first time he has seen him who is as strong as Phosphorus perception. After learning the location of Killer Bee, Sasuke didn't hesitate at all, and rushed straight towards the huge rock. What? Upon seeing this, Killer Bee also no longer hides. Well, just let the eighth one appear. Killer Bee's words contain profound meaning. If people who don't know him don't know what he refers to as the eighth hand. 833 days ago, Sasuke and his team learned about some characteristics of Killer Bee from a cloud shinobi. In addition to some obvious tattoos on the body, the most intuitive is the 8 swords. But the problem is that Killer Bee has only 8 swords on his back, and he used only 7 when fighting Sasuke before, but the last one was never seen. But from his current words, it can be known that he is going to use the 8th hand. Hearing this, Sasuke and others seemed to have an enlightenment in their hearts. But they didn't see any swords in Killer Bee's hands, and this result made them a little stunned. Advertisement. I don't know where the so-called 8th sword in Killer Bee's mouth is. Just as everyone was puzzled, Killer Bee made a big move, and as a strange seal was formed, a special and mad, CGDD, violent red coat appeared on his body. Although it is a coat, it can be clearly felt that it is a very strong chakra. For this red chakra coat, the trio of Xianglin, Suizuki and Shigogo have never seen it, but Sasuke is clear about it. He had seen Killer Bee in this state before, and that was on Naruto, who was also Jinchuriki. But this is not what shocked him the most. What shocked him most at the moment was that Killer Bee's chakra coat had 8 tails. In other words, he could use all the power of 8 tails. This is something Sasuke never expected. He fully controls the power of the tail beast. Although he does not know what kind of process and training it needs to go through, he knows that many Jinchuriki in the ninja world died tragically because they could not withstand the power of the tail beast. This kind of thing is almost impossible, did it? It would be nice to be able to borrow a trace of the power of the tail beast, but it would be difficult to reach the sky if the master's full power is desired. If not, everyone wants to be Jinchuriki, and it won't be said that Jinchuriki will run away if he uses some of his power, and will eventually end up in death. Just between the Sasuke people's consternation, Killer Bee had already set a posture. That was his 8th sword, and used the power of 8 tails to display the inheritance of their Cloud Shinobi village alone. Lariat. The principle of this technique is to gather the strong thunder attribute chakra all over the body and then enter a special absolute state, slam into the opponent with extreme speed, and use the powerful wrist to give the opponent a fatal blow. Call out. With the sound of a breaking wind, Killer Bee's figure suddenly disappeared in place. When he appeared on the ground, he was already in front of Sasuke. Advertisement. The super fast speed caused Sasuke's pupils to shrink suddenly, because this blow made him feel a fatal threat. Clatter. Although he is arrogant, he is not arrogant. Moreover, this extreme speed cannot be captured by the naked eye at all. You are the second person to escape my 8th sword after your brother. Obviously, he didn't plan to let a few people join forces. After landing, Killer Bee was also extremely surprised. He turned around and played with Sasuke, who was standing not far away, muttering to himself. Although Killer Bee is proud, but at this moment Sasuke began to have a little appreciation. In this way, there will be no suspense in this battle. He can become the number 2 character in Cloud Shinobi Village. He is naturally not stupid. Sasuke can only use Sharingan to capture Killer Bee's trajectory, and just like this, he barely avoided Killer Bee's killer blow. So once they join forces, it can definitely cause him a lot of trouble, especially since there is also a phosphorus that can help them instantly recover their combat power. Duh. That's why. Seeing that Sasuke was able to evade his own attack, Killer Bee did not choose to attack him again, but rushed directly to Xianglin and others. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. His idea at the moment is to get rid of the Shanglin and others first, and to clean up the strongest Sasuke. From the previous battles, he knew that the strength of Chapter 594 Dangerous Situation, Tailbeastization is invincible? Damn it, he went over there, Sasuke whispered in the back and immediately followed Killer Bee. He absolutely couldn't let the latter's plan succeed. Looking at the trio of Shanglin, Shuei and Shigeo not far away, Killer Bee gave a soft drink. Tear you to pieces first. Looking at the Killer Bee who was coming, Shuei and the others looked stagnant, because they didn't expect Killer Bee to make such a decision. At this time, Suigetsu's body was still a bit paralyzed because of Sasuke's Chidori, and there was no way to avoid the Killer Bee attack in the Tail Beast state. As for Fragrant Phosphorus, she is not a combat type herself. Because of this, Shigego was the only one capable of avoiding the Killer Bee attack among the three of them at this time. And Shigego himself naturally saw this, so he didn't hesitate at all. When Killer Bee's attack was about to come, he immediately left the place with Phosphorus and Suizuki. In order to avoid Killer Bee's lock-up as much as possible, Shigego used all his strength. At this moment, there is a tail jetport behind him, like a blood vessel that has been magnified countless times, and it is spraying white mist towards the outside at this moment. The moment the three of them disappeared in place, Killer Bee's extremely powerful attack followed. Boom! As a loud noise spread, the entire ground suddenly exploded. Rubble was splashing and smoke billowed. Even if the three of Jongwoo left their original positions first, they were still affected by the aftermath of the explosion. The pieces seemed heavy and swept toward the three of them. In this regard, Shigeo had to make a choice, because with his own power, he can only protect one person temporarily. Between Shuei and Shanglin, he chose the latter. The reason is very simple. If she doesn't protect the incense phosphorus, she will inevitably endanger her life. But Shuei's words, even though his body was a bit paralyzed at this time, he would not die under this attack. Advertisement as predicted. After Shuei was hit by these spattered gravel, there was no imaginary bloody sight. Even if he didn't even have his lower body, he still couldn't cause fatal damage to him. This is the powerful secret technique of the Ghost Lamp clan. Damn it, however, although Shuei is not life-threatening, this technique consumes a lot of him. After all, it takes a huge chakra to maintain this state. No matter how awesome a technique is, there is a limit. After all, he is not like Shiyu, who has a chakra 10 million times. In addition, he also has the Tail Beast chakra and Shanshu chakra. It can be said that he now basically has an infinite chakra. And Shigego also used color to protect Shanglin, but fortunately he has a junior sage body, so this kind of injury is not very serious for him. Clatter. Sasuke, who had just arrived, saw Shigego 3 at this time, and asked immediately. Are you okay? Fine, Shanglin responded, and she was the least affected among the three, because Shigego basically helped her block everything. Hearing that, Sasuke looked at Jungo, then glanced at the water moon on the ground, and his heart calmed down completely. Next second, Sasuke's attention immediately returned to the battlefield and began to calmly analyze. For flowers, that guy's speed is indeed very fast, and his power is also very strong. But the movements are very monotonous, and I can see through it with my eyes. At this point, Sasuke immediately ordered, advertisement. Aromatic phosphorus. To perceive his chakra and predict his actions. All you have to do is to master his position at any time, and tell us. Sasuke's voice just fell, and another voice followed. The premise is to have time. This voice did not come from Fragrant Phosphorus, nor from Shigeo and Suizuki, but from their opponent's Killer Bee. That's why. The nerves of Sasuke's several people immediately tightened, as if they were facing an enemy. Sasuke, be careful. When Shanglin yelled, Sasuke saw Killer Bee. What surprised him was that the latter did not hide in the dark for a sneak attack, but rushed directly towards him. This shows that Killer Bee is very confident in his own strength. In his opinion, even if Sasuke is defensive, it is impossible to be his opponent, because now he has used the Tail Beast first state. In the entire Cloud Shinobi village, only his elder brother can fight against his state. This is now 4th Raikage of Cloud Shinobi village, Even if you look at the Shinobi world today, it is absolutely rare to be able to fight against it. Although Sasuke is very strong today, if he wants to fight Killer Bee, he can only use the strongest power of the current master. That is, Mangekyo Sharingan, and, through the life and death battle with Itachi, it made him understand the last, power of God, of this pupil technique. Chapter 595 Two Souls, the power of God, call out. Killer Bee has reached an unimaginable speed under the insistence of Eight-Tail's strength. In the real Cloud Shinobi village, only the contemporary Raikage, who is known for speed, can beat him in speed. Just as the Killer Bee's attack was about to fall on Sasuke's body, the latter's pupils suddenly changed at this moment. From the normal black moment to the blood-red pupil of the six-pointed star. That's why. Killer Bee felt her body in midair but 850, as if being tied in midair. Perceiving this situation, Killer Bee issued a consternation deep in her heart. That eye Sharingan? Have you been in illusion? Undoubtedly, this is the status quo of Killer Bee in the illusion. In reality, he was not fixed in the air. Because the spirit was trapped in illusion space, without the soul leading, his body lost the ability to move and fell into the air. Boom. With a sound, Killer Bee slammed on the ground without any suspense. The fume that swept away caused the incense phosphorus to let out a few light coughs, and subconsciously covered his mouth and nose. But just because of this, it proved that everything in front of him was true, and the extremely powerful Killer Bee was trapped by Sasuke's illusion. Advertisement. Fortunately, Sasuke awakened, Mangekyo Sharingan, and Sharingan's pupil power in this state was greatly blessed. It is precisely because of this that Sasuke can trap Killer Bee in one fell swoop. If you change to someone else, it will not be easy to break free from the illusion created by Mangekyo Sharingan. But it is a pity that the person in front of you is not an ordinary person, but a Killer Bee who has completely mastered the power of 8 tails. There is more than one soul in his spiritual world. For this reason, ordinary illusions are not effective against him. The sound of shock that came out of Killer Bee's inner world was not someone else, it was 8 Tails Gyuki. After Sasuke used Mangekyo Sharingan, the pain in his eyes was a bit unbearable, and he couldn't help covering his eyes with his hands. When everyone saw Killer Bee hit the ground motionless, they were relieved immediately. Obviously, everyone thinks that Killer Bee has been subdued. Even Sasuke, who is the client, is no exception. In his opinion, although Killer Bee is strong, it is impossible to get rid of his illusion blessed by Mangekyo Sharingan in a short time. Just when everyone thought the battle was over, the sudden change occurred. I saw the Killer Bee who was originally lying on it and unable to move, but at this moment, it was in trouble. Sasuke was unprepared and launched the 8th sword lariat against him. There was no suspense this time, and Sasuke was hit directly. Because Shuei and Shigego are in poor conditions, and even if they are in their peak state, they can't respond in time. Advertisement. This time the Killer Bee was a surprise attack, and it didn't give them the slightest chance to deal with it. It's as strong as Sasuke, but I didn't even notice it. Taste. However, a strange scene appeared. After being hit by Killer Bee's Thunder Raid hot knife, Sasuke did not fall directly as expected, but was seriously injured. Not to mention the two, Sasuke at this time has never even taken a step back. He still stood on the spot, his black-red cloud robe shook with the wind, hunting, and his body was covered with a layer of purple chakra, making him look like a resurrected god of war, invincible. The appearance of this scene stunned everyone, especially Killer Bee. He didn't expect that Sasuke would actually fight his 8th sword, Thunderplow 3.3 hot knife, which was absolutely unexpected. Because this trick is the inheritance of Cloud Shinobi Village, its power can be seen in Madara. Moreover, this trick is extremely difficult to practice, and the strongest blow requires 2 people to work together. Although Killer Bee alone is lacking in power, it is not generally acceptable. In particular, he was still launching a surprise attack, but such a result appeared. Can this not let him be astonished? Chapter 596 Energy Metamorphosis, Susanoo. Looking at the purple chakra emanating from Sasuke's body, everyone in the room was full of different colors. The original color of chakra is blue. If you can cultivate into a chakra color that belongs to you, then this chakra is definitely stronger than the original chakra. The good point is the original chakra, and the bad point is the most basic and common chakra. The chakra of the tail beast is red, so this chakra is stronger than the original blue chakra. Once chakra is upgraded, it will become stronger. Even some upgraded chakras can produce special effects. For example, the chakra of the tail beast has a certain burning ability. No one thought that at this critical moment, Sasuke's chakra would be transformed. At this moment, the purple chakra surrounding it is like bones. 26 It is it that blocked Killer Bee's lariat. Undoubtedly, this is definitely an extremely powerful technique. No matter how powerful the transformed chakra is, it is impossible to block Killer Bee's lure. The only explanation is that Sasuke's spell at this moment is stronger than the previous one. Only in this way can it easily block the lure. This technique is Susanoo. After Sasuke awakened, Mangekyo Sharingan, only when he had just awakened in the illusion, did he occasionally use this technique. This was not done by him on his own initiative, but it broke out when he was awakened. Afterwards, he has been studying this technique and consulted Guo Shiyu. But Shiyu's answer to him was that as long as the ability of the left and right eyes was unearthed, this technique would begin to manifest in your mind, and only then would you be able to realize it. This method Itachi also hinted at during the decisive battle with Sasuke. In that battle, Sasuke hadn't fully understood Susanoo, or even the master. Advertisement. Because of this, he didn't use this technique in the battle with Itachi. Because at that time, he didn't even have insight into the initial form of Susanoo, and he knew only a little bit of the principle. But at the moment when he felt the threat of death just now, he realized it. And this was actually Shiyu's arrangement. He knew that Sasuke hadn't mastered the power of Susanoo. So he didn't stop him but helped Sasuke to hunt Killer Bee. His move was to temper Sasuke and let him fully understand this technique in battle. As for the danger, he didn't need to worry at all, because he gave a piece of fairy scroll with phosphorus. With this thing in there, Sasuke won't be in any danger. Even in the unlikely event that Sasuke fell accidentally, he still had a way to get back from the underworld. After all, he also has Rinnegan now. As long as it doesn't take too long to die, he can help him gather his soul in the place where the latter died and resurrect him. This price is relatively small, and all that is needed is a huge chakra. For Shiyu today, the most indispensable is chakra. In addition to his own tens of thousands of times more chakra, there are also 2 more powerful chakras, Master Tail Beast and Shanshu. It can be described as inexhaustible and inexhaustible. For 10,000 yuan, even if it is too late to rush to the scene to rescue Sasuke in time, Shiyu still has remedial measures. That is to use the same method to save Shisui, just to find a replacement. Of course, this is the last resort. Not to mention that he had such a backhand, it would be difficult for Sasuke to die just by relying on Shigego and Shanlin's own abilities. This is why Takiwa would be so relieved that Sasuke would come to fight Killer Bee. Looking at the bones surrounding Sasuke, there was only one thought in everyone's mind at this time. Advertisement, that is. What kind of technique is this? Killer Bee's trick is so powerful that they have all experienced it just now, and even the aftermath it exudes is shocking. But Sasuke fought the blow head-on, and he hadn't retreated a bit. The strong and the weak have already been judged. Not only did they think so, but even Sasuke, who was the person involved, had a shocking wave in his heart. He knew that this technique was very strong, but he didn't expect it to be so strong. Only he who personally felt and knew how terrifying this technique was. 850's current master is only the tip of its iceberg, but it can block Killer Bee's lure, and this is enough to know how powerful this is. At this moment, he finally deeply realized why Itachi could use this technique to block his lightning-style Kirin. After the trio of Shanlin, Shuei, and Shigego were shocked, ecstasy emerged in their hearts. Because the battle situation has been improved, it may turn things around. Seeing that his strongest methods were easily blocked by Sasuke, Killer Bee knew that it was already difficult to cause damage to Sasuke with his own methods. Ever since, he doesn't have any nonsense, he wants to use the power of 8 Tails directly. I want to disillusion you, and you will be destroyed because of it. Just let you see who you are as Jinchuriki, it's just a monster, watch it well. This is the change of Jinchuriki, yeah, chapter 597 8 Tails Gyuki, Water Curtain Heaven Punishment? This is the change of Jinchuriki, yeah, after Killer Bee's rap ended, his whole body suddenly changed strangely. I saw an incomparably vast chakra rapidly spreading from his body, and then continuously improving his appearance. The next moment, Killer Bee's body disappeared, and it was replaced by an extremely huge monster. This monster has a bull's head, its body is like a dragon, but its tail is an octopus, and it has 8. Needless to say, this is the true face of 8 Tails Gyuki. Although Sasuke and others have not seen the appearance of 8 Tails, they can recognize it at a glance. Killer Bee is 8 Tails Jinchuriki, and the monster in front of me now has 8 tails. The answer is obvious. It was just something that surprised them, one of the corners of the chair on 8 Tails' head was cut off. Naturally, they don't know the reason for this, not to mention them, even if it is the Cloud Shinobi village of Master 8 Tails, few people know the hidden details. And 8 Tails has direct dignity, so naturally it won't tell such embarrassment. In his opinion, this is undoubtedly a stain in his life. As for the person who cut off his horns, he has been in the world for a long time now. Because he is the dead Third Raikage was given the title of the strongest spear and the strongest shield. And the strength of this person is also extremely terrifying, he is an existence that can resist with his physical body and 8 tails. When Sasuke and others were shocked, Killer Bee's voice rang again. The dwarfs who see 8 tails are scared to pee on their pants. Advertisement Killer Bee's tone was somewhat mocking, or it was absolutely suppressed by strength. In his opinion, after revealing the 8 tails body, Sasuke, even if the master has that super defensive ninjutsu, it is difficult to survive the attack of 8 tails. This chakra, is this the tail beast? There are such things in the world? At this moment, Shanlin looked at the huge 8 tails and kept muttering in her mouth, she was really frightened. But this is also understandable, because before that, she had never seen any tail beast's body. A cow monster, is this the true face of 8 tails? Shui Yu, who was hiding in the water, said to himself. Assassinate the enemy. Assassinate this person's frontal bone. Woo yee 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 yee. It was not Killer Bee who was talking at this moment, but 8 tails himself. For those who are going to hunt him, he naturally has no good feelings, and the idea at this time is to get rid of it quickly. This is his dignity as a tail beast. Even though he is now Jinchuriki of Killer Bee, he has his own bottom line. If people don't let me go, I will not commit crimes. This is the code of conduct of 8 tails today. Obviously, Killer Bee has played a key role in it. Otherwise, the character of Yue Beast would definitely not make sense to humans. This is why the unsealed era before the tail beast was treated as a natural disaster. Because they have no emotions, no principles, they do what they want, they are unrestrained, and they can follow their own willful actions. And those who become Jinchuriki are subject to certain constraints. Advertisement especially 8 tails can get along well with Jinchuriki, which shows that his temperament has been changed by Killer Bee to a certain extent. Not only 8 tails, other tail beasts have similar experiences. Feeling the powerful chakra emanating from 8 tails, the fragrant Phosphorus, who is very sensitive to chakra, said immediately. This chakra is a bit too strong. If we stay here again, we will probably be killed. Sasuke, what do you think? Shanlin directly asked Sasuke what he meant, because in their opinion, Sasuke at this moment is like a god, and it is undoubtedly the moment when it has reached its peak. If the latter do not have the confidence to contend with it, then they will continue to fight in vain, and I am afraid that they will have to catch up with their lives in the end. If it doesn't work, let's withdraw first. At this moment, even Shigeo, who has always been quiet and reticent, was a little eager. For him of the master's natural energy, he can clearly feel the horror of the 8 tails in front of him, just like Phosphorus. Qian Li's, however, before Sasuke could speak, a huge water curtain seemed to be alive, and it rushed directly to 8 tails. Boom! As a sound came out, The majestic body that was as large as 8 tails was pushed back and loosened by the impact of the turbulent water curtain. For this scene, Sasuke and others are a little surprised. The sudden situation in front of them was not because of God's mercy on them. The reason why the water curtain would hit 8 tails was entirely due to man-made results. The person who controls the water curtain is not the person, it is the water moon. Among the people at the scene, only his water-style attainments can do this. Chapter 598 Tailed Beast Bomb is now, the front is tough. Seeing that the road ahead was blocked by the huge water curtain controlled by Shuei, 8 Tails also said after slightly shocked. Sure enough, it's a water-based ninja, you have a good location. This place is Yunlei Gorge, with beautiful mountains and clear waters and clouds covering the mist. The large river crossing here is a unique advantage to the water system ninja. Shuei can abruptly block the 8 Tails road ahead with a mortal body, naturally because of the endless rolling river. At this moment, Shuei also spoke. Leave it to me here, you go quickly. Although she said this, Shui Yu's inner thoughts at this time were actually, HMPH, I didn't expect that I would stand up several times to protect these guys. I just abide by the agreement with Shi Yu. Yes, exactly. At this moment, Shuei muttered to herself. In his opinion, what he did 867 was entirely because of his agreement with Shiyu, and everything was to collect 7 shinobi swords. But in fact, this was just an excuse Shuei found. If it is for the 7 ninja swords, then he can go and find them directly, without having to work hard here. You must know that fighting 8 tails, one who is careless will lose his life. Advertisement: if the life is gone, what promise to talk about? It can only be said that Shuei's temperament has changed during the time he spent with Shiyu, Sasuke and others, and he even regarded them as friends for a time. Otherwise, he would not make such a righteous act at this moment. After hearing Shuei's words, Killer Bee suddenly exclaimed. You made me like this, how could I let you run away? A**hole. A***hole. Killer Bee did not hesitate, and directly joined 8 Tails to prepare for the ultimate move, Tailed Beast Bomb. At this moment, the 8 Tails bull's head is facing the sky, the blood basin is open, and the red and blue chakras suddenly appear in the void, and then begin to converge towards one in a special proportion. When the black sphere slowly condensed, everyone present was shocked, even Sasuke, who had reached the peak at this moment, was no exception. Because they can clearly feel the terrifying aura contained in the black sphere, that is definitely the energy that can kill themselves and others. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. When the voice fell, Sasuke didn't talk nonsense and went straight to the front, which was the battlefield where Shuei and 8 Tails were located. But now I am not incapable of fighting against one. However, Sasuke's answer was beyond everyone's expectations. Advertisement: undoubtedly, this technique has completely surpassed his strongest killing technique, lightning style Kilin. She was forgiven for such consideration, because he didn't know the power of Susanoo. Sasuke is still like this, and even more pretentious as Shanlin and Shigego. It's not only Shanlin, Shigego and Shuei share the same idea at the moment, which is why Shuei will just step up to stop 8 Tails. If it was just now, I would listen to your opinions. With the current 8 Tails posture, if no one is left behind, maybe the 4 of them will explain here. Sasuke, CGDD. Let's go quickly. Looking at the situation, Sasuke is going to be tough. The previous Fragrant Phosphorus originally wanted to inquire about Sasuke's attitude, but at this moment, after feeling the power of this Tailed Beast Bomb, she did not have this thought. Of course, Sasuke's current masters, Susanoo, level may not be able to prevent the 8 Tails Tailed Beast Bomb in its heyday. In her opinion, this is definitely not something they can fight against, even if it is Sasuke, who has just mastered Super Ninjutsu. Yes, the enemy in front of us is not something we can fight against. Otherwise, taking all the circumstances into consideration, retreat is the best option at present. Chapter 599 Conjuration and Immortality, Light and Darkness. Seeing that Sasuke was about to fight, Korin and Shigogo shouted at the same time. Sasuke. Both of them are extremely worried about Sasuke's safety, one is because they are now a small team, and the 2 are because of Shiyu. They knew that Sasuke was Shiyu's teammate, and if he were to fall, the latter would definitely be sad. Although Phosphorus has the fairy scroll in his hand, this is the last life-saving card. It is absolutely impossible to use it as a last resort. After all, she only has one in her hand, however, he would never fail to think that Shiyu could make it anytime, anywhere. The reason why she was only given one volume was that she didn't want her to rely too much on this scroll, so that she didn't tap it into her own potential. The special energy in her body has been guided by Shiyu and can now be used freely. But if she wants this power to transform toward the power of Yang, she still needs to find it out on her own. Of course, Shiyu can also help her do it by virtue of her own heaven-defying strength. However, Shiyu wanted to make him transform successfully. Maybe she could do better, and she might transform into a brand new power. Shiyu was also looking forward to this, so O didn't make a move to help her complete the transformation. Although the special energy in the Fragrant Phosphorus is somewhat similar to the power of Yang, it may be able to transform into this power in the future, but this is only Shiyu's own guess. Advertisement: as for the truth, is it true, or is it still unknown? But if he takes the shot, everything becomes a fixed number, but if it is to let Shanglin's own transformation, there is a slight change. Nowadays, there are not many things Shiyu can look forward to in this world. Naturally, he hopes that some new things and new variables will appear. It's like everything in Ryuchi Cave, makes him enjoy. Therefore, he is also full of curiosity about Mount Myoboku, Wet Bone Forest and the unknown places on this continent. Maybe, there are things in this world that he doesn't know. Sasuke knew that the tailed beast bomb condensed by 8 tails at this moment was very dangerous, but he still did not flinch. Shiyu told him that this technique was even deeper than Gaara's absolute defense, even if it was called the Shield of God. Regarding this point, Sasuke convinced him even more since he had faced Killer Bee's lariat just before the battle with Itachi. In his opinion, he is not completely defiant now. Because he is not alone in the fight at this moment. Sasuke, that thing is too dangerous, you are sure to take it. Asking for flowers. Seeing that Sasuke insisted on participating in the war, Shanlin tried to persuade her, but Sasuke had planned it before she finished her words. Advertisement, believe me. After hearing this, Shigeo, who had also wanted to dissuade him, could only open his mouth, not talking too much. After spending some time with Sasuke, the latter's character he understands is very similar to the Kimimaro he knows. Once they make a decision, they will not change easily. That's why. He also took a step forward, ready to advance and retreat with Sasuke. Of course, he was not stupid enough to go straight up. Because he knows that he does not have that level of strength now, unless he can make his sage body go further, mobilize more natural energy, or transform them into stronger spell power. But unfortunately, he can't do it now. Although he has a sage body, the key is that he lacks a little talent in the practice of fairy spell. Otherwise, he would not suffer for so many years. Even the natural energy was once distorted, becoming the power of curse on the dark side. If it is said that the power of Shanshu is biased towards light, the power of that spell is biased towards darkness. Chapter 600 The Mystery of the Evil God, the Water Curtain Purple Bones. Light and darkness seem to be opposed, but in fact they are one. Therefore, natural energy also derives these two forces in its transformation. The power of the two is the same in different ways, and the power of the source is the combination of natural energy and the spiritual and physical power of the human body. Although the power of curse is comparable to that of immortality, the power of curse that Chongo possesses is obviously not up to the standard and cannot be called a true curse. The truly powerful curse is just like the kind of curse cast by people, which can make people have a nearly immortal physique. Obviously, there are 8 or 80 people with real master spells in this world. Not surprisingly, the guy who founded the Cthulhu mastered this power. This is why he dared to call himself a Cthulhu. As for whether this power was the first one he had learned, it is unclear. The answer to this is still open to question. When thinking of these things, Shiyu once went to the place where the Cthulhu sect was founded, but only found some clues. The information he learned was so little that Shiyu couldn't be sure whether the so-called Cthulhu really existed. Obviously, most of the truth is buried in the long river of time. Because according to the information received by his master, Cthulhu has a history of thousands of years, and almost all of them are forgotten. If it weren't for the faint restoration of this religion, the world would have forgotten it long ago. At the beginning, Shiyu continued to inquire based on these information, only to find that Cthulhu reappeared in the world only because of a ninja who had obtained the secret art of that religion. A mortal spell, this secret technique is really powerful. Shiyu learned that the so-called incantation had the same origin as Shanshu after fighting with Hidan, and then he had this series of conjectures. Advertisement because of this, Shiyu suspected that the so-called Cthulhu should have really existed. He once appeared in the long river of history. As for why there is no record about him in the history books, few people in the world today know. However, Shiyu believes that others may not know, but one person should know. That is Black Zetsu. The latter has always existed since the advent of Otsutsuki Kagaya, the destruction of the world, and the creation of the world. He is Kaguya's will, and he should know everything that has happened in these endless years. After all, he was always looking for a way to break the seal. Therefore, he will pay more or less attention to this mysterious rising figure, and even if he doesn't win in, he won't let the latter destroy his plan. Although thinking of this possibility, Shiyu did not immediately act. His idea is to wait for the dust on the matter at hand to settle, and then explore the strange mysteries, ominous places and so on in this world. Believe me, Sasuke stopped speaking after spitting out the 3 words to Shanlin and Shigogo. With a round sound, he disappeared in place. When he appeared again, he was already standing beside Shuei. Immediately afterwards, without any hesitation, he directly mobilized all the chakra in his body. The next moment, the endless purple chakra burst out from Sasuke's body, making the purple bones on his body more condensed. Advertisement The reason why Shuei had made such a choice earlier was that he was forced to do nothing. If he didn't leave him to stop him, it is estimated that all 4 of them would have died after the blow. Seeing that Sasuke didn't retreat, but came to join the battle, the expression of Shuei, who was holding his death in danger, was also startled. Although Shuei is a ridiculous person, the situation at this moment cannot be forced by him. Seeing Sasuke's full explosion, he did not have the slightest reservation, and used the secret technique of the Ghost Lamp clan to ultimate. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. At this moment, the sky seemed to be trembling, the void shattered, and a series of weird voices spread between the sky and the earth. Obviously, he didn't expect Sasuke to make such a choice. Only a slightly sane person can be tough with it. The giant 3.3 large water curtain and the purple bones complement each other, and there is a faint tendency to make the two compatible. Of course, he was not sure to block this tailed beast bomb at all. Undoubtedly, Sasuke at this moment has already played the first state of Susanoo to ultimate. Buzz. 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 At this moment, the tailed beast bomb made by 8 Tails and Killer Bee has taken shape. His previous idea was very simple, and the purpose was to make this tailed beast bomb go off track and give Sasuke and the others a chance to escape. Taste. 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 The two are determined to kill Sasuke and others, so there is no nonsense at all. The moment the tail beast King Jade condenses and forms, it is directly ejected. When they reach their level, one knows how terrifying 8 Tails condenses the tailed beast bomb. Chapter 601. It's like the sky collapses. Cloud Shinobi's secret. The world is roaring, and the mountains and rivers are shaking. The big mouth of 8 Tails was rippling with black halos at this moment, extremely bright, extremely dazzling. In the center of the halo, a black light beam burst out suddenly, and the extremely harmful energy seemed to cut through the void, like a comet falling moderate dazzlingly. The next moment, this attack did not have the slightest suspense and fell on the purple bones of the water curtain combined with Sasuke and Shuei. With a bang, a burst of light sputtered out in a moment. Taste. 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 This one is just black light, there are more blue and purple light, and there is a continuous steaming of white mist. Looking at it from a distance can make people feel cold all over. But this is not the point. The point is that the tailed beast bomb sent by 8 Tails and Killer Bee was temporarily held back by Sasuke and Shuei's combination of ninjutsu water curtain purple bones. However, this is always temporary. Shanlin and Shigeo, who were about to breathe a sigh of relief when they saw this scene, their complexion changed drastically in the next second. Advertisement, because they soon discovered that the monstrous water curtain condensed by the water moon was melting at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the purple bones of Sasuke, which seemed super strong to ultimate, had a similar change. Although there was no cracking on the surface of the purple bones, a few of the purple bones were rapidly dimming, and the speed did not fall at the speed that the monstrous water curtain evaporates. If nothing happens, the deadlock will be broken soon. It can be seen that the power displayed by Sasuke and Shuei is not enough to resist the tailed beast bomb released by 8 Tails. However, at this time, besides the frightened Korin and Shigogo, and the about to lose Suizuki and Sasuke, there are 2 other creatures in awe. They are 8 Tails and Killer Bee. The two didn't expect that they had all performed the strongest killer move, but they didn't kill them in the first time, and they were even blocked. Although the opponent's defenses are about to be broken, this is enough to prove the strength of the methods used by the two at this moment. You know, when they used to face a strong enemy, once they used tailed beast bomb, they basically ended the battle with a means to destroy them. There was a rebellion in a small shinobi village affiliated to Cloud Shinobi Village. Killer Bee was assigned to go there. The result was no surprise. A tailed beast bomb removed the entire village. You must know that the village where the rebellion was launched was quite strong, and the leader even possessed cage-level strength, but it still failed to change this tragic ending. Advertisement. This result shocked the entire Thunder Country. Although this information has spread throughout the Thunder Country, and even spread to the other 5 major countries and the surrounding small countries, only the high-level figures of Cloud Shinobi Village know who is responsible for this terrifying case. Killer Bee is the killer copper of Cloud Shinobi Village. Even the people in Cloud Shinobi Village know that he is 8 Tails Jinchuriki, and he also knows his own strength is extremely strong, but only a few people know the true strength that he can reveal later. But this is not the point. The point is that Killer Bee can perfectly control this power, which is why he was completely accepted by the entire Cloud Shinobi Village ninja and ordinary people. Because he used this power to guard the village many times and protect people's lives, this was recognized. Just like in the animation, Naruto saved the entire village after the Battle of Pain, which changed everyone's attitude towards him. On this level, they are the same kind of person. This is also the fundamental reason why the two of them are so close together. Chapter 602. Stand up and struggle. The power of sacrifice. Pung. 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 One after another, the dazzling light continuously overflowed from the intersection of the attacks from the two sides, dazzling incomparably. Even if Shanlin and Shigego were standing in the distance, their eyes were empty. But at this moment they didn't have the mind to appreciate this magnificent encounter, because the defensive methods of the combination of Shuei and Sasuke had gradually become disadvantageous. If there is no accident, it will collapse and lose in the next second. The result of defeat may be severe injury, and death may be severe. Naturally, this is not what the two of them would like to see. But the key is that they are helpless at this moment, they can only stare behind. Because if they go up at this time, it will be completely messy, maybe it will distract the two of them. There are only 2 things they can do now. The first is to pray, hoping that they can persist until the energy of the tailed beast bomb dissipates. The second is to be fully prepared. Once the two lose, they will do everything possible to help them at the first time. In their team, the two of them can be said to be nanny-level existence. Regardless of the life force of Shigeo, or the special energy of Yangji Ka, it is an ability that can restore the peak state in an instant. Especially the former. Looking at the fading, purple bones of the water curtain, ahead, Shanlin and Shigeo clenched their hands, ready to respond at all times. Advertisement. They still think so, that Sasuke and Suigetsu at the time naturally knew themselves. Sasuke. You have to hold on, I don't want to wait for me to wake up and not see you. After being caught in a crisis, Shuei knew that there was no counterattack, so she actually recovered her previous dangling appearance. Of course, he felt that he might not die because he knew the power of his secret technique. But as for when he can wake up again, that is not something he can decide. He has a secret technique, but Sasuke doesn't seem to have it. Anyway, based on his knowledge of the Sasuke and Uchiha clan, the latter should not have a similar secret technique to the master, which is why he said to Sasuke like this at the moment. Obviously, his words also carry a trace of temptation. However, Sasuke's answer was beyond his expectation. Shuei. So no matter what the final result is, he will choose to give it a try. Its blooming power seems to shoot down Tianyu, but regardless of the previous incident, he will choose to believe it. Advertisement after all, Sasuke had previously created a miracle, blocking Killer Bee's Thunder Raid hot knife in Susanoo's initial form. With Shuei's sacrifice of life force, his dimly dimmed water curtain reappeared in this moment, and even the water body that was about to collapse has a tendency to condense again. Good uncle. Now that Sasuke says he has a way to solve the immediate crisis, he will naturally unreservedly prepare to help and make the last fight. But if it is successful, it will be different. At this time Shuei didn't have the slightest nonsense, or that the current situation did not allow him to talk too much, the money was good, because time was running out. Hearing this, Shuei's expression was suddenly startled, obviously he did not expect to get such an answer. Looking at Sasuke's extremely determined eyes, Shuei knew that the latter was definitely not lying, maybe he really thought of something. When the words fell, Shuei directly sacrificed some vitality to create more chakra. This was the only way he could increase his strength at the moment. The big deal is that his final state is a bit more miserable. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. You hold on to me for a while, I might have a way to hold it. Because he had nothing to do right now, he had only said such ridicule to Sasuke earlier. If he hadn't understood what Sasuke was like, he would have thought that Sasuke was also learning from him to tease himself. At this moment, the blue light is shining into the sky, and the water curtain is surging. Chapter 603 The Second State, The Origin of Heaven and Earth. As Shuei sacrificed the life force, they once again resisted the attack of Tailed Beast Bomb. But this is not the solution after all, and it can only last for a short time. Although the energy of the Tailed Beast Bomb was dimmed again, it still quickly wiped out the defenses of the two in a devastating way. Seeing that the attack was slowed down again, Eight Tails and Killer Bee were a little unbearable. They were not slow-moving people, so naturally they just went on like this. Abba, use the maximum power. Good. Hearing Killer Bee's advice, Eight Tails also nodded. But these words fell in the ears of Shuei and Sasuke, but they made their hearts sink. Obviously, this seemed to be their strongest power. This is indeed the case. This time the Tailed Beast Bomb was not cast ultimate by Eight Tails. It can only be said that it underestimated Sasuke and Shuei. Although he only used 7 points of strength, it never thought that this degree of strength would be blocked by these two little guys in front of him. You know, at the beginning, he used 5 points to wipe out a ninja village. Even the cage-level powerhouse was helpless and died tragically under this trick. Previously, he also knew Sasuke's defensive strength, so he used 2 more points. Who would have thought that 883 was blocked by the two together? Although the opponent may not be able to support it for too long, it cannot be accepted by him. This belongs to the dignity of his Eight Tails. The 5-point Tailed Beast Bomb can destroy a Shinobu village, but the 7-point force can't take down 2 little guys in an instant, which makes his old face a bit unstoppable. This is the end of my thought. Eight Tails didn't have the slightest nonsense. After a loud roar, a powerful chakra came out of the body again, allowing the red and blue chakra and the void to merge into the slightly dim Tailed Beast Bomb. The next moment, the light pierced the Shaohan, as if it was about to destroy the sky, and the whole world seemed to lose its color, and the scene was horrifying. That is, the integration of this force has completely broken the original delicate stalemate, and the situation once again returned to the previous crisis. Realizing this, Suizuki hurriedly shouted to Sasuke. Okay, I can't support it anymore. Just after Shuei's words fell, Wu Guang directly broke into the water curtain. Advertisement puff. That shadow is like a meteorite falling into the sea, causing the monstrous water curtain to sweep across the sky frantically, raging in all directions. CGDD, causing the sky to be light and rainy. If the vast sea bursts and collapses, it is about to explode. Sasuke, who assisted Shuei on one side, was naturally aware of this, and no longer continued to comprehend it, and immediately broke away from that strange state. Although he is very free, but he can't help it. If he does not withdraw now, not only Shuei will face danger, but his life will also be in danger. Furthermore, it is impossible for him to be in danger for Shuei. After all, he asked Shuei to help him. Sasuke looks cold on the surface, but it's just that he doesn't want to reveal his heart. This is his Tsunere's temperament. Once he regards one as a friend, he will naturally not abandon him. Of course, one of the reasons for this was that he learned that Itachi had not died, otherwise, the stimulation might change his temperament drastically. After all, that kind of thing is unacceptable to normal people. When exiting that strange state, Sasuke didn't hesitate at all, frantically surging all the chakras in his body, making them constantly pouring toward the purple bones around him. In the next second, an amazing scene happened. I saw that the purple bones were rapidly condensing at a speed visible to the naked eye, starting from dimness and becoming vivid, and then they started to derive new bones, and finally even the head appeared. Susanoo at this time has begun to take shape, which undoubtedly reached the second stage of manifestation. At this moment, Sasuke is surrounded by a huge purple bust skeleton, like a god who is invincible, giving people an unspeakable feeling. It was also because of the appearance of this half-length skeleton that almost two-thirds of the resplendent tailed beast bomb energy was blocked, and the pressure on Shuei was greatly reduced in an instant. It was also at this moment that Shuei had time to pay attention to Sasuke's changes at this moment. He didn't expect that the ninjutsu previously performed by Sasuke was not perfect, and at the same time he was amazed by the unparalleled defensive power. As if only this skeleton exists, there is nothing that can come close to it and hurt its life. Everything seems to be deeply cut off by that incredible power. It was also at this moment that Shuei knew that Sasuke did not lie to him. Just now Sasuke really entered a strange state. In his opinion, it should be a state of epiphany. Advertisement legend has it that as long as you enter this state, you can understand all principles and push all ninjutsu to an unprecedented peak. Those blood succession limits and blood succession elimination are all here. In this world, there are many talented evildoers, but there are a few people who can create this kind of transcendent ninjutsu, which is even stronger. Take Kakashi and Itachi, their talents are absolutely evil. But what's the use? Without opportunity, without Fukuzawa, without the right time and place, it is impossible to create a powerful ninjutsu. And Sasuke was also due to chance, and he realized this state during the encounter with the tailed beast bomb of 8 tails just now. Of course, this is still related to how Shiyu taught him how to perceive natural energy. Because ninjutsu is conceived by oneself, and then formed in the outside world. The so-called outside world is nature. The conception is beautiful, but whether it can succeed in reality is still unknown, because whether this conception energy can exist stably in nature still needs to be settled through experiments. Sasuke's success in one fell swoop is inseparable from the existence of natural energy in advance. Once master Shanshu, that is the origin of nature, and all impossible things can be realized. This is like wind-style spiral shuriken. In Naruto's hands, he can only barely condense with his own chakra, and it will leave powerful sequelae after casting. But if you use fairy magic to cast it, all the problems will be solved. From this it can be seen that many things in this secret are linked to natural energy. Simply put, everything comes from nature. Whether it is chakra or special power, it is all energy born in this world. It is not only the power of nature, but also the power of heaven and earth, and the power of the origin of this world. Therefore, all creatures must follow the laws of nature. Otherwise, only destruction awaits them. Chapter 604 3000 Luoshui. 2 Buddhas ascended to heaven. When a half-length human skeleton appeared, everyone was amazed. Obviously, everyone did not expect that this ninjutsu could even be upgraded. For this secret, only Sasuke was present. Because of this state, he had already understood this level when he awakened Mangekyo Sharingan in the illusion, which is why he can become the master state soon after entering the immediate state. Moreover, he has seen this state in reality. The first time Shiyu killed Orochimaru. At that time, Shiyu personally showed him the full form of Susanoo. At that time, he was shocked to the point where it could not be added. At that time, he felt that this technique was extremely powerful and yearned. However, because Shiyu's strength was too strong, he did not overly demonstrate the ability of this secret technique in the battle with Orochimaru. Not long ago, in a life-and-death battle with Itachi, he personally felt the power of this technique, and he was able to make its strongest tricks, lightning style, Kilin, all ineffective. Now that he has comprehended this technique himself, he has a deep understanding. Whether it was the Thunder Raid hot knife that blocked Killer Bee before, or the tailed beast bomb that now resists 8 tails, it is enough to reflect his superpower. Sasuke was able to comprehend Susanoo to the second state in such a short period of time, which is inseparable from the duel at this time. Originally, after the battle with Itachi, he had some understanding of Susanoo, this secret technique, and it was just an opportunity to fully understand the difference. There is no doubt that this battle is his opportunity. And this is why Shiyu did not oppose Sasuke's hunt for 8 tails. He just wanted to use 8 tails to temper Sasuke, so that his use of Mangekyo Sharingan tends to be perfect. At this moment, I finally understood the dialogue I said to him when I left not long ago. Advertisement. Each pair of Mangekyo Sharingan corresponds to a different kind of Susanoo, and this unique secret technique needs to be comprehended on your own. This time, the task, Shao, may give you something to gain. If it wasn't for the situation in front of him that he could not understand again, Sasuke felt that he might be able to discern a stronger state. It's like the Joshao possessed by Itachi, where it can reach the perfect body like Shiyu did at the beginning. Seeing this scene, Xiangyu and Shigego were relieved, and Suigetsu was also stressed out and her eyes were revealed. In the past, he still had to beat Sasuke, but after the latter awakened Mangekyo Sharingan, he felt that this possibility became less. But it hasn't reached the point where he feels invincible, but the secret technique Sasuke has displayed at this moment makes him feel a little weak. Such an absolute defense, he can't break it at all. In addition, Sasuke's lightning style restrained him, making the possibility that it was difficult to win is extremely slim. Of course, if he knows that Sasuke is also the master Amaterasu, this super fire style, then he will definitely give up this idea completely. Because both fire style and lightning style are restrained from his water style. Although fire style and water style restrain each other, the premise is to see who has stronger escape skills, and there is no doubt that Sasuke's fire style is stronger than him. Sasuke himself is a member of the Uchiha clan, and he is good at fire style. Now he has the blessing of Amaterasu, pupil technique, which makes him even more powerful. In such a comparison, his water style seems useless in front of Sasuke. Unless he can master the strongest secret technique of their Ghost Lamp clan, Water Style 3000 Luoxui. Please ask for flowers. The Ghost Lantern clan is able to create a prestigious reputation and achievements in Kirigakure. Naturally, it has the foundation and influence. Because they know that only the 8-pointed tailed beast bomb can no longer get the Sasuke that Susanoo has evolved. Advertisement. Who was the most shocked? But just as their thoughts just fell, the change revived. Big. It must be 8 Tails and Killer Bee. The further transformation of Sasuke's secret art was absolutely unexpected. But even so, the Ghost Lantern clan still became one of Kirigakure's guardian families. It is a pity that due to the outbreak of wars all the year round, the talents of the Ghost Lamp clan withered, and as a result, this secret technique was lost. In the common saying, hydration technique is one of 3000 Luoxui. This is enough to see the power of the secret technique of 3000 Luoxui. ***. This secret technique has been lost in the Ghost Lamp clan, and Shui Yu's current masters. Hydration technique is a simplified version of this 3000 Luoxui. Yunlei Gorge, in the battlefield. Later generations could only find out the simple version of hydration technique, based on some of the scriptures practiced by the predecessors, and this allowed the Ghost Lamp family to survive and continue in that war-torn era. If they knew that this result was caused by their 2 hands, they would definitely be so angry that 1 Buddha was born, 2 Buddhas ascended to heaven, and 3 Buddhas turned into cosmic dust. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. And the strongest secret technique of this clan is the 3000 Luoxui. In front of this technique, everything has to sink into it, even fire, thunder and other natural elements that are incompatible with it. At this moment, they were wondering if they were going to use their full power? It is precisely because of his master's simple version of the secret technique that makes him almost immortal. Chapter 605 Yunlei Palace, Domain Ultimate. With the transformation of Sasuke Susanoo, 8 Tails released that the tailed beast bomb could no longer pose any threat to them. Upon seeing this, Sasuke took the lead. He didn't know if this was the limit of 8 Tails' power, but he would never take a big risk. Once 8 Tails gains strength again, the situation may return to the previous situation. Even if he knows Susanoo's second state, he may not be able to stop it. So, Sasuke took advantage of the fact that 8 Tails and Killer Bee were cloned because of their accidental transformation, and solved this hidden danger first. Under his control, the tailed beast bomb that still had some power left directly separated from their defense, but it clearly deviated from the original track, making it unable to cause damage to the Phoenix and Shigego behind. Although the current 883 Sasuke can say that the power in this tailed beast bomb is exhausted. If he does that, the situation will be quite passive. Moreover, afterwards, he and Shuei will exhaust chakra exhaustion. By then, the few of them can only be reduced to lambs to be slaughtered, leaving the 8 Tails and Killer Bee fish. Killer Bee is not stupid. Once in this situation, he will never let Phosphorus get close to Sasuke and Shuei. Having learned from the past, he naturally would not make such low-level mistakes again, which is why he would attack him after he had insight into the ability of the incense Phosphorus. In the ever-changing battles, sometimes the auxiliary medical ninjas are more important than the combat ninjas. This is why every village must imitate Konoha's team form, and the team must be equipped with a medical ninja. When the 2 masters fight to the point where they can no longer fight, the auxiliary role is reflected. This is one of the reasons why Tsunade is famous in the ninja world. Many powerful ninjas do not respect Senju Hashirama because she is the granddaughter of Senju Hashirama. She can be recognized by the strong because of her impressive medical ninjutsu. Boom. Even the tailed beast bomb, whose power is less than 1/3, still erupted when it fell on the mountains and rivers, causing a mountain and forest in Yunlei Gorge to be destroyed, and the ground was sunken hundreds of meters long pit. This blow is enough to penetrate the sky and make the world slow down. It was also because of this attack that the 2 Cloud Shinobi guards who were patrolling far beyond Yunlei Gorge were finally alerted. They were secret guards in this area. Advertisement. Looking at the dilapidated place with smoke and dust, one of the men was shocked. That direction is Yunlei Palace. Yunlei Palace is a palace in Yunlei Gorge, where Killer Bee lives almost all year round. It can be said that this is a residence specially built for him by Cloud Shinobi Village. Killer Bee doesn't like living in the village very much. He likes to practice outside, and he likes to deal with some small animals. Of course, part of the reason is because of 8 Tails. Because when he first became 8 Tails Jinchuriki, he was not seen by the name of the village, so on the surface, he seemed indifferent, but his heart was inevitably bitter. Therefore, he chose this Yunlei Gorge. This place is remote and located in the secret place of Cloud Shinobi Village, so the village high-level officials did not reject this proposal. Because in this way, Jinchuriki does not need to be exposed to the eyes of the world, and the best protection can be carried out. But everything that happened later surpassed everyone's expectations, and Killer Bee turned out to be a perfect master of the power of 8 Tails. In addition, he guarded the village and repeatedly made military exploits, which changed everyone's view of him. That's why the villagers independently launched fundraising and built a palace for him. This is the Cloud Thunder Palace. What caused the movement in the distance? A young man who didn't know the situation said that he obviously didn't know the secret base of Yunlei Gorge. This place is secret in the entire Cloud Shinobi village, and it is naturally impossible for ordinary ninjas to know. The reason why the other man knew about this was because he was a younger brother 1 grade below Killer B, and was fortunate to get an advice from Killer B. And the location at that time was exactly that Yunlei Gorge. Because Killer B is now powerful, Cloud Shinobi Village basically does not worry about what will happen to the latter. Advertisement therefore, the number of ninjas who know the location of Yunlei Gorge has also increased. For this reason, Killer B also asked to withdraw those who protected him, because with his current strength, no one in the village can surpass him. Not even today's 4th Raikage. Maybe Killer B itself is not as powerful as 4th Raikage, but with the power of 8 tails, it can definitely defeat the latter, or even better. It is difficult to compare escape techniques that are not in the same field. Just like the strongest water-style Sanchenluashui and the strongest fire-style Amaterasu known today, no one can accurately define which one is strong and weak. After all, although 4th Raikage and 3rd Raikage are father and son, the gap between the two is not even the same. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. But compared to Flying Thunder God, these two techniques have a shortcoming. Everything grows and restrains each other, and it has its own field ultimate. If it weren't for the appearance of Flying Thunder God technique, who would dare to surpass him in the ultimate field of speed? Although there was no before, now there is. It can only be said that the two have their own advantages, and it is not the same type of escape technique that cannot be compared in a strict sense. With Shiyu's understanding of lightning style now, he has already turned himself into lightning, and even created two ultimate escape techniques, Thunder Flash and Thunder Flash, comparable to Flying Thunder God technique. However, the advantages and disadvantages naturally have their advantages. But he is not useless. His attainments in the field of speed can be described as unmatched in the shinobi world. Flying Thunder God technique needs to span space, but lightning style does not. That is, their chakra consumption is less than Flying Thunder God. That is, they can only reach the teleport speed of 3.3 Flying Thunder God in a small range. If the distance span is too far, it can't be compared. Regardless of the strongest spear and the strongest shield, the former is just learning a little bit of fur. It's not that he doesn't, it's Shiyu.